The history of the style of this race dates back to 1985, but one driver tonight will be able to change the way that their racing resume is forever formed, either winning their first race at Martinsville or maybe adding to their own personal win total. Pace car is off. Carson Lofton and Lee Polium get set to bring us down to the start, and the 2025 ValleyStar Credit Union 300 from Martinsville is underway, and a jam up mid-pack. Mike Looney has crashed. Several other cars pile in, and one of the former winners of this race has his car destroyed before he gets to the start-finish line. Blake, we talk about it with these late model stock cars, starts and restarts on these narrow racetracks. Boy, they've been treacherous over the last few years.
Yes, it has. Daniel Silvestri got the worst end of that along with Mike Looney. It looked like Bobby McCarty just barely avoided heavy contact before he slid into Blake Stallings. It looks like he was able to get that car stopped. But yet another instance, we didn't see it in any of the qualifying races. We had a couple of slip-ups with some of those drivers, but it wasn't anything this drastic. And if we take a look at the replay, look at the outside line, everybody approaching it, trying to kind of roll into this zone and start stacking up a little bit around. I mean, really, that's the entire outside line that's stacking up there. Everybody kind of trying to anticipate that start, that launch of Carson Lofton into the box. And already very early on, I mean, you can see it start to form already. Fourth, fifth row. And as much as we love the fact that, yes, we have an honorary starter, Brandon Willard, he had to come out and bring out the yellow flag very, very quickly.
The only car unable to drive away from the scene, Daniel Silvestri, who started on the pole here back in 2021 and finished 9th on his Martinsville debut in this race. You see Daniel out of the car surveying the damage. He made the race in all 4 tries. His best finish was 7th in 2022, but unfortunately for Daniel, his race is going to come to an end. The car is going to come to a stop quite literally about 6 feet from the start-finish line before they even got to the green flag.
You feel for all these guys. Blake Stallings and his RNS race car team, for Mike Looney, somebody who was up front competing for the race win before it was all said and done a year ago. Daniel Silvestri, who again hasn't been running late model stocks on a full-time basis, has been trying to piece together starts here and there throughout the year, whether it's in the Cars Tour or in races like this. Has been running a lot of Legends cars this year, and it's just such a gut punch when you have the opportunity to get the funding, to line up everything, to do everything right, and then not be able... I mean, his car is literally about 5 feet from the start-finish line to take the green flag. So disappointing. Let's hear more down trackside from Jacqueline.
Standing right here in the 87 pit, Mike Looney. You'll see his team all hands on deck on the front nose of that car as the official's going to tell them to stop working, as we are under red flag conditions and you're unable to work due to that. The 2016 ValleyStar Credit Union 300 winner right here is going to be a bit behind the 8 ball, but right now it does not seem like there's anything threatening that would prevent that 87 from headed back out to the field, but unfortunate start to this race.
Thanks, Jacqueline. Looney, the 2016 winner of this race, led more than half the race that year, 120 laps, and was the runner-up here last year to Carson Quapple, and finished second in 2021. Even though he was starting in the mid-pack, he's certainly someone you don't want to rule out. The car that was in front of him on the outside lane, Tate Fogelman, also sustained some pretty significant damage after he got into Cade Brown. So, Blake, as you said, the initial stack-up happened about 5 to 7 cars further up from where the carnage started to present itself, with some of these cars sustaining whether it be minimal, marginal, or terminal damage. For more, let's go to Pike.
I'm down in Blake Stallings' pit where the crew has already got the saw ready to go. They're going to try and cut this front bumper off that took most of the damage in this stack up on the front straightaway. The question is, what kind of damage is there behind the front bumper? The radiator intake is pretty well bent up, so they're probably going to have to clear that out. The question is whether or not there's any damage to the radiator itself. That's what the crew is looking at right now at the front end of the engine bay. Blake has not gotten out of the car. He's just sort of sitting, hanging out for the time being and waiting to figure out what goes on, but lots of work to do for the Stallings team.
Thanks, Pike. And one thing we should note here, I know a lot of our viewers may be, frequent, participants or competitors, or even some who watch some of the Cars Tour races on a regular cadence. And yes, the Cars Tour does have a rule and an option where they could wave a red and yellow flag. However, for this race, running under NASCAR rules, we have not seen that circumstance play out. A traditional red flag, just like what you would see on Sundays. The teams are not allowed to work on their cars, but that does not stop them from the chance of being able to survey the damage and see if they can come up with a plan of attack or a game plan. So the teams from Mike Looney and Blake Stallings eagerly waiting for the go-ahead once the cars start to roll again for the chance to work on their vehicles. And again, one of the big reasons why the cleanup is taking a good bit here, they had to retrieve the Daniel Silvestri car off the front stretch and also lay down a lot of speedy dry across the start-finish line. As you see, already some of the body work has been removed from Looney's machine. And Blake, the way that this race has unfolded several times, why not try to make it back out there? We could see a bit more chaos throughout the next 199 laps. These drivers can make up some spots, find themselves in a pretty decent finishing position.
And obviously with Mike Looney and Blake Stallings, a heavy amount of damage on those race cars. But even some of what we were seeing a little bit earlier from Tate Fogelman and some of those drivers that were kind of involved in that initial stack up, they get a little bit of dings here or there on their race cars. That's going to hurt a lot too. Because you think about Martinsville Speedway, what's kind of the one mainstay of it is these long straightaways. And those aerodynamics, even on these late model stock cars, are very, very important.
Unfortunate for Stallings, he's already got the helmet off and is, I think, just waiting for what is going to be the final word as to how the fate of his night is going to end after this initial start stack-up that caused a good bit of damage to several cars throughout that top lane. The most significant to that of Tate Fogelman, who remains on the racetrack, Daniel Silvestri, whose car is on the hook, Mike Looney and Blake Stallings, whose cars remain on pit road as we go back under yellow flag conditions, and the teams will see if there is anything they could do to get those two cars back into this race. Going on to Jacqueline.
Yeah, down here again with the 87. One of the fun things about short track racing is they get very creative when it comes to repair. You'll see them using a jack handle as a mechanism to bend the nose back. I did check it with the team. They said no damage to the radiator, so just cosmetic for the 87. That is a lucky clover on this car. You'll see them taking tape, trying to use the drill to add some rivets, remove some things, and do the best they can to get him back out. Mike Looney, who took a bit of a break earlier this year, said he feels refreshed and ready for this race, and you guys talked about it in the booth. It's a long 200 laps. There's time to get it done, and you never know what's going to happen here at Martinsville.
Exactly, Jacqueline. I think that's why this veteran driver and veteran crew are doing all they can to get Mike back out there. Now Fogelman has come to the attention of his crew after he was also one of the cars that sustained damage here. This is the second ValleyStar Credit Union 300 for Tate. He made the race in 2022, but retired due to early trouble, but had a great run at South Boston, started 7th and finished 6th there in the Thunder Road Harley-Davidson 200. However, in the other leg of the Triple Crown, the Hampton Heat, misfortune and 31st. It's been feast or famine for Tate in the late model stock side, but you see the banner across the windshield. There is a mathematical shot that Tate could walk out of here a Virginia Triple Crown champion, and as we've seen many a times before, anything can happen, and the crew is trying to make sure that car is ready to get back out there for the remainder of this event.
And there's a lot to fight for if these drivers have that red banner on, with the fact that we had so many drivers that were a part of this Triple Crown. I don't know how much further you're going to be able to drive there, Tate.
No.
That's going to be a little tough. But you know what? Under pace speed, I think Tate's more than capable of bringing that car back around. Maybe try to make sure that he can see out the windshield. But so many drivers that were up in the standings in the Triple Crown, they're not in this race. Woody Howard, Peyton Sellers falling out and not able to qualify for this race. Darren Krantz Jr., who had an average finish of 7.5, he was going to be a part of that conversation as well. Not able to qualify for this race. So a lot of drivers that were going to be collecting those 10 grand or for finishing second, $7,500 for finishing third in this Triple Crown, they're out of the picture right now. So that allows drivers, even like Fogelman, who maybe struggled a little bit at Langley. If anything, he was great at South Boston Speedway, ran 6th in the 200 there. Unfortunately, fell out early at the Hampton Heat to finish 31st, but he's still got a fighting chance to get up there and get this money.
The bad news for Blake Stallings, that's on the opposite side of the pit wall. The team is determined they cannot get that car repaired. And you see that he's going to walk on over and make sure that he gets checked out and that he is in fact okay. Opposite end of the spectrum from Mike Looney. They've ripped off the bodywork on the top of the hood and also the right side of that machine to get Mike back out there and see what he's got for the remainder of this race. Tate Fogelman's made his way back to the pit lane. They're trying to secure the hood on that car. What a wild and chaotic start to this year's ValleyStar Credit Union 300.
It seemed as if we were going to get a word there with Blake Stallings for just a moment, but he's being taken to the infield care center per procedures of the track. So hopefully everything will work out there as the repairs continue for Tate Fogelman to keep that hood down. Again, as we mentioned, caution laps do count in this feature race, so we've made a couple of the first few laps here in this race under yellow. It provides Eric an opportunity here to have the choose available, which wasn't available on the initial start aside from the front row, but it gives these drivers the option whether they want to go low, whether they want to go high. And from what we saw in the qualifying races earlier, I think that high lane, especially in the first couple of rows, looks very tempting. In 3 of the 4 qualifying races we had earlier today, driver that started in second on the outside row ended up taking the lead and winning it.
And you seem to need to have a willingness to be able to try to pin the car on the inside down coming off of the corner in order to make that work. As a matter of fact, let's not just talk about it. Let's take a look back at some of the action that we had in the qualifying races to show you what that looked like. And this was some of the contact and carnage that took place in race number 1. That's Stacy Puryear who got turned. Lofton got the win in that first race, and it was Ronnie Bassett Jr. who got in on the last time. Then for race 2, Lee Pulliam didn't lead all the way, but was able to get the lead back from Jared Fryer and walk away for what would be a qualifying race win and a shot on the front row.
Race number 3, it was pretty much wire-to-wire led by Trevor Ward, although some chaos further on back made the transfer battle awfully interesting. But this is where things got really hairy. In qualifying race 4, Tristan McKee, Riley Gentry battling it out up front. A number of incidents, including this one with Jessica Can involving Woody Howard. Mason Diaz also involved in a hard crash with Blaine Harrison off of turn number 2. But an intense transfer battle all happening behind the Gainbridge Chevrolet of Tristan McKee as he picked up the win and would take home the 4th starting position for the feature tonight.
And Blake, to extend on your point leading into that package, Tristan is someone who benefited from the top side to get the lead away from Riley Gentry once we have one of those restarts in that race, and that very well could be an option for a driver to take over the lead or maybe go on and win this race later on tonight as Fogelman is back on the pit lane to add some more security to the bodywork on the front end of that race car.
Well, again, they've had to take the opportunity to continue working in this racetrack to make sure everything is okay here on the front row. But Brandon Willard in our flag stand, the best in the business, bar none, giving these drivers the choose, and it looks pretty procedural with what we saw at the start of this race.
I'll second that notion on our buddy Brandon. He does a great job, probably one of the hardest working flagmen that we'll know anywhere. He's probably got a race lined up tomorrow, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. That's how Brandon rolls. Hopefully he's not going to be too busy tonight with waving the caution flag or giving one-to-go signals minus the remaining scheduled yellows that we have on the agenda. But we've run the first 7 laps of this race under caution, and nothing has changed up towards the front after the initial stack-up on the word go. So Carson Lofton's going to pick the bottom. Lee Pulliam the outside in that blue and silver number 1, the same color scheme that he used to win this race the last time that he went to victory lane back in 2014. Then it's going to be Trevor Ward, the 2023 winner, Tristan McKee, the winner of qualifying race number 4, Cody Kelly, and Jared Fryer, your front 6. Nothing has changed there since the start of this race. We'll try to see if the field can come up through the gears this time as Lofton and Pulliam will bring us up to the restart zone for our first restart of the night with 8 laps to be complete at the line. Everybody gets past the start-finish line that time, and it's going to be Lofton jumping out to the lead. Trevor Ward in that bottom lane moving up to second. Pulliam back to third. Now it's Cody Kelly trying to use the inside lane to get up to fourth on McKee, who's under fire from Landon Pendleton as they flash by the start-finish line in anger for the first time.
You can see it so great, especially here at Martinsville. These cars sparking on these low air pressures. A lot of drivers, even in qualifying yesterday, were complaining that even if they were running up in the top 10 on their lap, that they were hitting the ground, that they were scraping the ground. You can see it really well out of the 7 there. Tristan McKee trying to hang on to this battle. Jared Fryer's going to be able to get back down to the bottom. A lot more grace given on that restart. There's definitely a lot more space between these cars, looking to just try to get a few laps in to get a handle on their pieces right now.
That red and blue car on the outside, different look to that machine. Landon Huffman, the much publicized support from Sheetz, one of the local gas station companies, as we got a battle for the lead. Trevor Ward up to the inside. Ironically, these are the same 2 cars that battled when Ward went to victory lane 2 years ago. Now battling with the late model stock rookie Lofton to the outside as Trevor sails it off in the corner.
And you can see Lofton really bottoming out there as they went in through 3 and 4. But these two, they have quite a history over the course of this season, as Trevor has been offering his talents to the Nelson Motorsports team for several races here in 2025 on the Cars Tour side of things. So a lot of discussion, a lot of trust and respect has been built up over the course of this season between Trevor Ward and the 77 and Carson Lofton, who has absolutely loved working with Trevor throughout this season. And I think you can see in the results right here that work and that mentorship has been paying off for young Carson Lofton.
One of the early retirees in this race, Blake Stallings, is standing by with James Pike.
Blake Stallings out early in the ValleyStar Credit Union 300 for 2025. Blake, did you have any opportunity to react to what you saw in front of you?
No, I got the car wound up and was trying to maintain about a half a car length to the car in front of me. Unfortunately, when things happen like that and the track gets blocked, you kind of get shoved into stuff that you can't avoid. I hate it for all my crew. They worked extremely hard to get us a well-built race car here. I really thought we had a good shot at it, even though we were starting further back in the field. It just sucks to come to a late model stock car race, especially as prestigious as this, and have somebody miss a shift and wild up the field, you know.
Traditionally one of the fastest drivers in the state of Virginia, Blake Stallings will be back.
Thanks, Pike. Finished 4th here in 2013, did Stallings. Unfortunately, tonight he is going to be one of the first ones out for, as he said, with nothing else he could have done differently. Here's Connor Waddell, been very surprising in his maiden voyage in the ValleyStar Credit Union 300. Further forward, Connor Hall, vying for a Virginia Triple Crown Championship, getting around Landon Huffman, pulling a fellow Cars Tour competitor along with him on the inside. And the 4 car is Cade Brown.
In fact, 2 cars that are running 2nd and 3rd in that championship right now between the 88 and the number 4. Huffman, though, just kind of struggling to get back down. We talked about how good the high lane had been on these restarts, but not showing nearly as well in this cooler track as we continue to work into the nighttime. That top lane not nearly as competitive as we saw. And again, not seeing these cars slide around a lot. We get a great shot there off of turn 4. You see a lot of these drivers wrestling the wheel. They're not counter-steering nearly as much as what we saw earlier on in these qualifying races. So the track has tightened up quite a bit versus what we saw earlier this afternoon.
That 44 is Connor Jones. Driver who's won multiple times on the Cars Tour this year. Had to come from the last chance race in the big money event at Hickory. Was able to drive up through the field to finish 3rd. A couple races later, runner-up finish at South Boston Speedway by half a car length our last time out over Caden Honeycutt. But he also has a Craftsman Truck Series start here, does Jones. Ran here back in 2023, started 15th, finished 18th. So he's got some laps here, not only just in a late model stock car, and he's working over the backside of Huffman in what is a battle for a top 15 position. All the while, Caden Quapple looks underneath Jacob Boris. Further forward, Lee Polium has fallen back into the clutches of Cody Kelly in the 16 and the 0 of Landon Pembleton, another former champion of this race. Ironically, last year, Pembleton piloted a Lee Polium Performance car in this race, and what was an opportunity he was able to take up on. Now back in his family-owned equipment, as he was when he won this race in 2021. After starting 8th, Pembleton rolled off from the inside of the 4th row instead of the outside tonight, and he's trying to catch not only Kelly but Polium for what would be a battle for the final spot on the podium.
And this all happening, again, about a 10th off the pace. Again, it's kind of hard to describe right now, but just Trevor Ward is in his own league right now. You look throughout the top 10, every single driver that last time turned in a 20.9. Trevor was the only driver that was in the 20.8s as Donovan Strauss looked at a top 10 starting position in this race. Got a clean Q collar, number 98. working back with the Sellers group, the same group that he ran Florence Motor Speedway with all of last season. And a much-needed run, I think, for Brandon Pierce. Even speaking with him last night, he said, I needed this one so badly in terms of his strong qualifying effort and being able to start up front. It has just, unfortunately, been one of those years for Brandon Pierce where everything aligns and they have the speed in the car. There's just been one thing here or there that has negated them for getting the finishes that they feel like they deserve this season. And Pierce doing a great job right now, running 12th as Donovan Strauss able to hang on right now for 11th.
And I think the only exception for Pierce this year has been the Virginia Triple Crown. He's had a great run. That's why he's got the banner on the windshield. He is in mathematical contention for that title after finishing 8th in the Thunder Road Harley-Davidson 200 at South Boston and 10th in the Hampton Heat. Unfortunately, he's being hounded by the Virginia Triple Crown points leader Connor Hall as this continues to be a battle for 11th on back.
And at least looking at Connor Hall's car right there, really liking the rotation it has through the center of the corner, despite the fact that it's back here in traffic, just being so patient right now with Brandon Pierce again, just trying to force Pierce into a mistake right now. Pierce didn't quite open the door too wide just yet, but again, you kind of see how these late model stock cars, the momentum they carry, even if you run about half a lane higher like Pierce was able to do that last time, they're able to carry that momentum off. So you kind of have to do this if you're Connor Hall. You want to get them just a little bit upset on exit to be able to side draft him, if you want to call it that, on the straightaway and try to make that move into the corner.
These two are now going to go door to door off the second corner while Cade Brown watches on. Cade in his third ValleyStar Credit Union 300, third in a row, was 7th here a few years ago as we got a caution on the racetrack.
And it's off of turn number 2. One car making contact with the outside wall. It is the Barber Heating and Air machine of Jacob Borst in the number 25. And from the looks of it, from what we could see, it looks like the right front is down on that number 25 car.
Borst, who was able to shake off the bad luck from 2024 when he was in a transfer spot in his respective qualifying race. When Virginia native Chase Burrow lost a motor in front of him, Borst had nowhere to go, making now his third ValleyStar Credit Union 300 in his career. Was 7th here in 2021, and the right front tire is down on the 25 car. He goes immediately to the attention of his crew. So this is going to be our second caution of the race. It comes right about lap 30 with 170 laps to go, 70 until our first planned yellow of the event. Caution number 1 came, I want to say, on the opening lap, but it was pretty much before the opening lap began when an initial stack up on the start collected a few cars. This one a single car incident for Borst.
Somebody who's run very well at this race in the past, and you can see the NASCAR officials allowing this team to change that right front tire, because obviously it was flat, so they give them the opportunity to do just that. But Jacob Borst, again, a lot of solid runs that he's had. This is his third start in the ValleyStar Credit Union 300. Ran 7th back in 2021. Started as high as 12th before. Was back in this race after failing to make the field a year ago. And hoping to get this repair job done quickly as possible with these laps kind of continuing to count here under caution. There is also a free pass available. The drivers will have the ability to wave around and receive the lucky dog each and every yellow flag. So losing a lap here, but hoping to get that back a little bit later on in the race.
So Borst is going to get the tire changed. He'll be able to rejoin the field, albeit towards the tail end of the pack, as we work this second caution of this race, and it will erase the lead that was built up by Trevor Ward, who, as you said, Blake, from a lap time perspective, he was pretty much walking the dog up out in front with no pressure from behind whatsoever. And Ronnie Bassett Jr., window net is down on the 62 car. He is on the pit lane, and he came into the night second in Virginia Triple Crown points, got in the race in a thrilling finish in qualifying race 1, and it looks like his night is over.
And Ronnie Bassett getting into the race in dramatic fashion. New look for him in this Buddy Scoops Ice Cream number 62, which if you haven't visited Buddy Scoops Ice Cream in Winston-Salem, you need to go there and visit it. A great great organization they're doing with a lot of great causes that this family is so tied in with. They do a great job there, and just an unfortunate early end, it looks like, for Ronnie Bassett Jr., who put on a thrilling performance to be able to get into the starting field, but looks like it's going to be an early end for the Buddy Scoops machine.
Unfortunate effort after all that Ronnie had to do. He was relegated to the rear in his qualifying race, battled back there, withstood a bit of a bump and run attempt from Dylan Newsom off the final corner. And Bassett's night and Virginia Triple Crown hopes are dashed. It's going to give Connor Hall a bit of a buffer, as he had a bit of an advantage coming into this race anyway. And the driver closest to him now is a car that is one car behind him, and Cade Brown in those Triple Crown standings. From our vantage point, we've seen a couple of other cars come down the pit lane under this most recent caution, including Bobby McCarty, three-time Cars Tour champion, and Doug Barnes Jr. There you see both Doug and McCarty, and good to see Doug back at the racetrack. If you didn't have a chance to see our last Cars Tour event at South Boston Speedway, Doug, along with Parker Eatman and a couple of other cars, were involved in a very scary crash at the end of the race that saw Eatman get a bit skyward. Doug, though, was not feeling quite well at the end of that one. Was able to check in with him on Sunday the day after, said he was feeling much better and focused forward on Martinsville. And so far, he has been able to keep that car in contention as Fogelman comes back to the pit lane, and they're immediately trying to cool the car.
When you talk about the Herculean efforts that these teams put in to try and make these races, how about Lee Pulliam Performance? That's the same car that they wrecked at South Boston that Doug is running in right now. So they did a whale of a job getting that thing prepared, because it was completely destroyed after that violent wreck at South Boston Speedway a couple weeks ago. So able to get that repaired and back out here to not only make the show, but hoping to make some improvements on it here early in this race.
So on the choose, that time by, race leader Trevor Ward has elected the bottom. Carson Lofton has chosen the top side. Lee Pulliam, who's running third, picks the inside of row number 2. Cody Kelly elects the outside of that second row. Landon Pembleton, Jared Fryer, as they were running. Same with Tristan McKee and Sam Yarbrough. Riley Gentry picking the bottom side of what will be row number 5. And Michael Bumgarner going to start on the outside of the 10 spot. So Blake, essentially the top 10 electing to choose in double wile formation if they would, should this be an old school fashion of how we would re-rack this field for the restart. And Fogelman's night has come to an end. Tough break for the 2021 NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series winner at Talladega, who runs a limited slate in late model stock cars, while the rest of the field gets set to reignite. Going to be coming around a complete lap 35. It'll be 165 to go in the race and 65 to go until our first scheduled race break caution. Trevor Ward and Carson Lofton bring us back up through the gears. Lofton with a good launch off turn 2 to try to battle Ward for the lead in 3.
And Lofton, when he's been able to send it in there after these restarts, see the car hitting the racetrack, but able to keep up right now, pretty solid. As now Lee Pulliam makes a move, has to back out of it as he was looking for second. It got aggressive there, but Lofton able to hang on as they are still all over the place, racing hard throughout the field. It's side by side behind Tristan McKee and Michael Bumgarner right now.
Ward out in front, Lofton the second. In terms of the Virginia Triple Crown, one of the drivers who had a big chance, Ronnie Bassett Jr. His night is over. Pike is with him.
Ronnie Bassett Jr. out of the ValleyStar. Credit EG 300 early. Ronnie, what ended your evening?
Yeah, something with the exhaust broke or something like that, and it was inside the car, and I couldn't breathe, so unfortunately I had to park it.
The Virginia Triple Crown picture has changed significantly very early on in this race.
Thanks, Pike, and hats off to Ronnie.
Turn 2, Brandon Pierce gets spun, and several others pile in as they try to slow up for the accident. Caution is out yet again.
The front end of Landon Huffman's car is destroyed down the back straightaway. That beautiful-looking Sheets number 57 is torn up. That's Ty Majeski backing off of the front end of Ryan Matthews' car. A multi-car pileup in turns 1 and 2.
Parker Eatman, Connor Waddell. This happens far forward in the field. Grady is involved, but looks like he may not have hit anything. It looks like Pierce got turned, but this was kind of this was kind of all behind Pierce. I think Pierce is the initial start of where this happened. My goodness, the Sheets machine is totally destroyed.
And the one that got away from Landon Huffman 2 years ago does not appear to be coming back to him in 2025. Here's what happened. That's Pierce with, I believe, Donovan Strauss to the inside. Yes. And that's where the initial contact is made.
And then everybody else, so Connor Hall, I mean, that happens directly in front of Connor Hall. He's able to see it. He stops. And if you're in Landon Huffman's position, you can't see that and be able to react to it quickly enough. There's Ryan Matthews pushing water out of his number 51.
And just as Pike wrapped up that interview with Ronnie Bassett Jr. and said the Virginia Triple Crown complexion has changed, and I was going to say hats off to Ronnie and company for the idea of putting his health and safety first and foremost, Connor Hall became very close to getting swept up in that pileup over in turns 1 and 2. The Ryan Matthews team going to work on that car, and here comes Huffman limping the badly damaged number 57 down to the attention of his crew.
And aside from this unique partnership with Landon, it's been a heck of a 2025 season for Landon, fighting for a top 5 spot in the Cars Tour points throughout this season. A huge pickup, being able to run with the Carroll Speed Shop this year. It has been a comeback year for Landon Huffman, doing this and also battling at Tri-County Speedway right now, trying to chase a track championship with his family team over there as well. So it's been a busy but successful season. It looks like Ty Majeski, a little bit of tape on the nose, is going to be able to at least let him drive away. And still a decent amount of damage on that 98 CBR machine.
There are a lot of cars with battle scars already tonight, and there may be plenty more still to come. The Ryan Matthews team and Landon Huffman team still working diligently on the pit lane. Pike is down there.
Ryan Matthews' crew has already pulled away the right front bumper and the nose piece off his Chevrolet, and they are going to work trying to see same sort of similar situation to Blake Stellings, what kind of damage there is to the radiator. Thankfully, in Matthews' case, there's not any fluid dripping underneath the car, so that's at least a positive sign. But work to be done here just to get this cleared up before the yellow flag ends and before we go back green flag racing. Jacqueline.
Standing here in the 57 pit of Landon Huffman, who you can see him just evaluating his car currently. And when he came in, water was pouring out of the radiator. That's going to end the night for him. Visibly upset, fist to the roof of the car when he exited after all the hard work and time that he has put into preparing this and the special outing for Sheet as well. He's going to come over here and we'll see if we can grab a quick word with him, but ultimately you can see just how upset he is in the Carroll Speed Shop team. Heartbreaking end for them and all the hard work that they've put in. Quick word here, Landon. I know you're upset. That's heartbreaking end for you. Any words of what happened there?
I have no idea. Just impatience, I guess. I think the 98 turned the 2, and I mean, we get stuck and there's nowhere to go. You just run in the back of them. So really stupid, like, I don't know, 30 laps into the race. Just unfortunate. Really proud of all my Carroll Speed Shop guys for working hard. And thank you to Sheets and everybody for coming on board. Happy to have Sheets on board. Super cool partnership. Hopefully we can do it more. Just unfortunate in the end and know where we could go.
End of the night for Landon Huffman.
Thanks, Jacqueline. Unfortunate series of events there for both Carroll Speed Shop cars as they are involved in the melee. Pierce able to continue. Huffman not so fortunate. As we continue to work under this third caution, cleanup continues on the racetrack. Many race teams hard at work to try to get back in this race. It's been a physical start to the ValleyStar Credit Union 300. We'll step aside and come on back for the restart right after this. wrapping up caution number 3. It'll be 155 laps to go in the ValleyStar Credit Union 300. 2023 winner Trevor Ward out in front of the field with late model stock rookie and multi-time Tour Type Modified and Smart Modified winner. To his outside and Carson Lofton. Lee Pulliam, Cody Kelly, your front 4 as we're back underway. 55 laps away from the first scheduled race-breaking caution. Lofton again with a good launch to the outside off turn 2. Door to door with Ward for the lead in 3.
Definitely the best restart that we've seen Lofton be able to get this far. It is Nelson, number 22. Crosses back down to the bottom. He's going to settle in to second for now. How about Landon Pimbleton charging at Cody Kelly there, the number 16 off of turn 2. Looks like he's just able to get the spot. And then Jared Fryer, somebody who has just been incredible on a part-time basis here in 2025. I know a lot of teams down in the garage area thought that this 14 car would be one that they would have to beat by the end of the night, and showcasing that exactly why right now. Jared Fryer trying to get by Cody Kelly. Really close there off of turn 2. And
for good reason, Blake. The 2020 champ at the Cars Tour with Jared Fryer. First multi-win season for him this year in that part-time slate, as you mentioned. He's been on a roll of podium finishes, while some young guns battle behind him. That's Tristan McKee in the 7, Michael Bumgarner in the 97, and then veteran Sam Yarbrough to the inside of that 95 car with Connor Hall lurking in the 88.
It's Michael Bumgarner in this 97 car. How about 20, count them, 20 wins at Hickory Motor Speedway? And that's with the fact that many of those races are inverted as we have trouble on the track. Caution flag is out. And wondering, there was one car that was, well, there you see the cause for the caution, debris out on the racetrack.
Yeah, I did see one car that had some smoke coming off of it, coming off turn 4. However, I haven't quite been able to identify where this body panel may have come from. I think I may have the car.
Entry to pit road over in turn number 3.
There we go.
Yep, Chase Murphy's number 13.
I was going to say I could see a car that's missing its left side door, but because there's no number on it, I can't quite tell. So the driver that started shotgun on the field, the last car to make it in that 4th qualifying race, Chase Murphy, in his ValleyStar Credit Union 300 debut, appears to have shedded the left side number over on the turns 3 and 4 side of the racetrack.
And obviously with some contact there, and yeah, I was trying to identify that, but again, so many of these number fonts, if you just see a piece of the scrap there, it's so difficult to try and decipher who is who. But Chase Murphy, again, he was just so happy to be able to make this field, and that's the entire door that has fallen off that race car, and if anything, somewhat lucky that fell off and drew a caution flag. If they need to come down and address anything, they may not lose a lap. As Stuart Cruz, car number 29, has been coming down to intermittently make repairs on his race car, and he's going to be able to drive away and keep himself on the current lap that he's on, Jacqueline.
Yeah, we're down here. We're down in the pits of the 97 of Michael Bumgarner. The Hickory Motor Speedway track champion is making his first debut right here at the Paperclip. You're looking at Keith Bumgarner. This is his dad and crew chief. I looked over just before this yellow came out. He had his phone. He slammed it on the phone. I said, "What's going on? Why are we upset?" They said he had an opening to get to the inside, and we didn't take it. Young talent, still learning, but still running fairly well in that 8th position so far with 51 laps in.
Thanks, Jacqueline. And we talk about the minute details as this race unfolds. That one move, which could then have a ripple effect as to where he chooses on this upcoming restart and where it positions him should we have another caution. That's how intense these teams, drivers, spotters all look at these laps as they unfold. Yes, it's a 200-lap race, but Blake, every decision you make from start to finish impacts your chances of winning it.
Well, and again, we were talking about Bumgarner as that spin came out, and for good reason. A 2-time, now back-to-back track champion at Hickory Motor Speedway, and the way he's done it, 20 wins, it is so difficult to do, especially at a racetrack that, again, is as abrasive as Hickory is and has inverts, and despite whoever has shown up at Hickory Motor Speedway, there's been really good cars showing up, and then Bobby Isaac Memorial leads flag to flag all 150 laps, and so impressive to see what Michael's been able to accomplish the last couple of years and what he's been able to do in kind of these one-off starts. He won at North Wilkesboro Speedway. He was actually the last driver to win on the old pavement, wasn't he? The limited late model race that they ran there. He was the last one. Heck, he lapped me in a limited late model race that I ran at Hickory a couple of years ago. So one heck of a driver, which again, that may not be much of an accomplishment, but either way, Bumgarner doing a great job right now and has stayed up in the top 10 this entire race.
See Connor Waddell, who also is making his maiden voyage in the ValleyStar Credit Union 300, sustained a little bit of damage in the opening lap skirmish. Made his Cars to a late model stock debut at Dominion earlier this year as well for Connor, who's starting to branch out into some of these other bigger platforms of late model stock car racing. You caught a quick glimpse at Ty Majeski. They came down the pit lane as well. You've documented some of the problems that the Chad Bryant team has had in terms of having to replace a motor in the car to start the day, race their way from the back of their qualifying race to get into the show. And their story continues to unfold here as we see the one-to-go signal from our chief starter indicating we could have to choose this time, and we'll be going green about a half lap from now.
And in terms of the amount of drivers we've had wrapped up in incidents, Ryan Matthews, the last car that is still making laps, but one lap behind the leader, scored 34th.
Trevor Ward still in command of this race. Carson Lofton, who is outside. Lee Pulliam, Landon Pemberton. 3 of your front 4 have won this race at least once before, as they'll come back to the line with 146 laps to go.
Bumgarner got back down to the bottom immediately, so you know what? He listened to Dad.
Lesson learned as Ward clears off the corner. Lofton slides to the bottom, immediately trying to cover the inside lane with Landon Pemberton in the 0 car, trying to squirt up to the outside of Lofton for second.
His Triple Crown started in a fiery crash at South Boston Speedway earlier this year. He had an incredible race car there, didn't get to use it. We saw him at Dominion Raceway. He had probably the best car on the property, was involved in a lap 1 incident, didn't get to make it through that one. But especially late in this year, again, was challenging for the championship at South Boston Speedway throughout this 2025 season. Still has a chance to compete here in this Triple Crown for a little bit of the money. But he has had some very impressive individual races. And again, just a little bit of contact here between the 14 of Jared Fryer and the 16 of Cody Kelly.
One of the rare instances where you'll see some casual contact that Martinsville could produce in this late model stock race, and that hasn't separated these two by any stretch of the imagination. Fryer and Kelly with a little more contact there in the middle of the corner. Fryer will get the spot. McKee trying to follow.
Kelly looking, I think, to get back down here behind Tristan McKee. Again, carrying the pride of Hartsville, South Carolina. Imagine the Stuck Steakhouse, the family, or the steakhouse that this family owns, when they open back up on Wednesday, depending on how this run goes tonight. I can't imagine the party that they'll be having if Cody Kelly can continue to hang on here. Sam Yarbrough, another Florence Motor Speedway competitor, makes up a spot on 97 of Michael Bumgarner.
Yeah, Bumgarner did get on the bottom on that restart, but then got kicked off the bottom to give up the spot there to the 95 of Yarbrough. Now it's Connor Hall trying to work over the youngster in the 97 car, with Cade Brown watching along in the 4 behind him. Riley Gentry, Connor Jones rounding out this pack of cars. Hall in the 88 currently running 10th.
And probably one of the biggest beneficiaries we've seen of a couple of these incidents. That black 33 car, Dylan Harville, kind of started back in the 27th or 28th position, has finished 20th in each of his chances here in the ValleyStar Credit Union 300, currently running 14th, just behind this group of cars as Bumgarner looks like he's able to keep pace just in front of what Connor Hall's doing right now.
Things about the calmest we've seen at this point of the race up to this point, as we've eclipsed the quarter of the way mark already. In fact, 61 laps are complete, 139 to go, with Hall anchoring the top 10, trying to seal up what could be a Virginia Triple Crown championship, with Ward continuing to hold about a half-second lead over Carson Lofton, who runs second, behind Pendleton, Pulliam, and Fryer, your front 5.
And Brandon Pierce, despite being involved in that incident, we just saw him. He's been able to make up a couple of spots. He's currently running back in 20th. or I should say up to 20th after the spin that he had earlier. A little bit of contact here. 09 of Riley Gentry. Connor Jones giving him a little shot, and it seems like that is where it has happened all night long, that we've seen drivers kind of cooking it on the entry into turn 1, but just giving that little bit of a nudge out of turn 4. Not enough to knock them out of the way or anything, but just enough to loosen them up just a hair if they have a little bit too much wheel in it as they get back to the throttle, trying to get back by. Gentry able to get down and protect that spot before Dylan Harville gets there.
As you said, Blake, been a great run for Harville up to this point. Now for Gentry, he's unfortunately going the wrong way. He started this race in 8th position. He's fallen outside of the top 10, currently running in 13, trying to at least stay there or latch on to Connor Jones, who's been on a good bit of a charge up through the pack. He started 17th on this grid and has worked his way up towards the top 10. He's running 12th.
Battles all over this racetrack, and I think at this point really trying to settle in. But the one thing that I was just about to bring up, even though we're past 60 or coming up on 70 laps been completed in this race, brake rotors there for Riley Gentry starting to glow, and this is early in this race for that to start happening, because this is a race where everything can go right, but with these late model stock car brakes that they have essentially off of a pickup truck from the 1960 Chevy pickup truck, with the horsepower that these cars are creating and the speed, that is probably the biggest concern, and wouldn't be surprised at the end of the night if there are a couple of drivers, it seems to be the case every single year, where brakes fading and brakes failing end up putting them out of the race.
Notice that a lot on the 88 car of Connor Hall. For more on that 88 machine, let's go to Jacqueline.
Speaking to the number 88 of Connor Hall earlier today, I asked him what he thinks about Martinsville, and he said, "This is my favorite track. I wish we could run the paperclip every single weekend." But he really looks forward. He wants to check this race off in his career in late model stock cars. I asked him, "Who's your biggest rivalry this weekend?" He goes, "I don't look at any other competitor. I stay focused in what I want to do. I want to get the clock. I want to check this off and move forward from his very lucrative career he's had so far."
Thanks, Jacqueline. And hard to believe, in Connor's short history, this is his 5th ValleyStar Credit Union 300 that he's participated in. He's never finished in the top 10 before. His best finish was 12th in 2022. Started 4th here a year ago, but faded to 25th. I think right now he's already on the right trajectory to float closer towards the front of the field and maybe not only lock up that Virginia Triple Crown, but maybe also go to victory lane. And there's that traditional puff of smoke that we sometimes see out of this car. As runs go on just a little bit, the rotors are glowing. It's got that little bit of blue smoke when he gets back to the gas in the center of the corner, and he's giving a shot to Yarborough off the turn. Connor Hall trying to rock it up through the field.
And you can see there's going to be just a little bit of remnants of that contact there on the nose. The plastic there on that Chevy nose rubbed in just a little bit as perhaps they touch a little more off of turn number 4. But the yellow flag is going to be displayed once again. Hard to see exactly what it is from. I know that the last couple of laps there had been a little bit of debris that I perhaps saw off at 2.
Unfortunately, Blake, I think I'm seeing some precipitation fall from that camera shot.
Yep, you're right.
So the caution is out, and it is for some light mist, it appears, that is in the area. And we see the rain now falling there. All right, well, I said it during the break, I'm usually glass half full kind of guy. That might be a little bit more than a light mist, but nevertheless, it will slow the field for the 5th time in this race. There was a threat of weather pretty much all throughout the lead up to this weekend. Then the forecast improved dramatically leading up into tonight's race. Now, the good news is we are not quite yet at halfway. As a matter of fact, we're 2 laps away from being within 25 laps of that mark for this race to be made official. But the caution is unfortunately going to have to fly. And the other bit of good news that we have is, Blake, we touched on this during our qualifying show, but everyone from NASCAR, Martinsville Speedway, some additional tracks that are in the area, they have allowed an entire and full fleet of track drying and service equipment to be available on the property should Mother Nature intervene in this race at any point. So we are loaded for bear to do whatever is possible and whatever we can to make sure that we get the race in. And I think that's something that maybe some of the track services team is going to shift their attention to as the rain is starting to fall just a little bit harder.
Well, and again, we have the opportunity here, unlike, I would say, most racetracks that we go to, where you can fit the entire field onto pit road quite easily. You can see a lot of Teams starting to run back to the trailer to be able to grab the covers for their race cars to be able to put on them, so I imagine they'll bring them down pit road momentarily. But again, with the fact that there's so much room here on pit road, you're very easily able to keep all the cars down there. Like you said, we have any track drying equipment, basically equivalent to what a Cup Series weekend would be here at this racetrack, and you can get that work done while those cars are sitting in the pit area quite easily. So they have the Air Tundras out here, several pieces of equipment from tracks that are all around this region, including at South Boston Speedway, to be able to get this track, hopefully, after this shower passes, dry quite quickly. And if we were watching the radar again, there was a cell that I don't know has been lingering around us, I would say, since driver introductions, maybe an hour or maybe even an hour and a half or so ago, and was thankfully stopping with some of the mountains as it was kind of rolling this direction. It would dissipate, and unfortunately it looks like we've gotten tagged by that just a little bit here.
Yeah, it seems like this particular cell that's hit the track started to develop a little bit east of the speedway, and it has increased in size over the course of the last few moments or half hour or so, and it's just kind of touching the track with the outer edge of that system. The hope is it doesn't expand any further, and it could in fact start to diminish and allow us the chance to wrap this race up here tonight with so much on the line, with this red flag now going to be displayed with 75 laps complete, so 25 laps shy of halfway, 25 laps shy of what was going to be the end of this first segment of this race, and it puts us about 125 laps shy of the checkered flag. So the hope is that if we get a little bit of luck from Mother Nature, this could be a relatively quick shower. And as we said, there is a full arsenal of track drying equipment on hand to try to make sure that if we do get the cooperation from Mother Nature, that we do get this race back underway in a very timely manner, because it has been physical, electric, and just about everything we've anticipated, and we're not even at the half distance mark of this year's running of the ValleyStar Credit Union 300 just yet. So now the field being brought down onto the pit lane, and as Blake mentioned, a lot of the teams having to scramble for their car covers and whatever is needed to protect some of the electronic components of their vehicles, to make sure that while we sit and wait for the rain to stop and before track drying services could begin their work, and the focus could be turned back on the task at hand, and that is winning this race. The cars are being extended down to the end of the pit lane before they could be parked, and the red flag will be displayed for what unfortunately will be another red flag incident in this race, but the first one for that of inclement weather. So Trevor Ward, the leader, over Carson Lofton. Landon Pembleton, your top three at the time of this caution and stoppage for Mother Nature. Several cars having to battle back from some of the early incidents that we've had. And several competitors also retiring from the race early, including a couple that did not make it the first opening laps, including Blake Stallings and Daniel Silvestri, who were involved in the first wreck before the first lap even begun. Ronnie Bassett Jr., who mentioned that he had an exhaust issue and had to retire about 54 laps into this race. Tate Fogelman was involved in the big stack-up and caution. His car overheated. He'll be scored 37th. Jacob Borst, after the flat tire and wall contact, will be scored 36th. Landon Huffman was involved in a multi-car pileup earlier. He will be scored in 35th spot. Everybody else remains on the racetrack at this time, some of which minus a lot of body work and sustaining a good bit of damage. Well, the red flag has officially been displayed now that every car has come to a stop. And we are under a bit of a rain delay condition with 75 laps complete of this 200-lap race. Man, Blake, just we're starting to get excited, getting towards that midway point, the first chance for the race teams to kind of focus in on what their strategy was, and the skies opened up here in Martinsville.
Yeah, it's unfortunate because I think we were really starting to see there. We were getting in the midst of our longest run of the night and really starting to, I think, give these drivers a lot of feedback on where the track is going, where it's at, where their car is at, what more do they need to try and have a better race car when they get to the second half of this race and they're able to adjust and make all the changes that are necessary to be able to get to the end of this race. And was just starting to see that and was really curious to see, especially up in the top 10, so many of our competitors that have been running so quickly up to this point. What could they do to their cars? But just shy of that.
Well, one of the drivers who has been running quicker than anybody in command of this race at the time of the stoppage, Jacqueline Drake, is with Trevor Ward.
Yeah, you can see right here the raindrops are coming down, but Trevor Ward, currently the leader right now with just, oh my goodness, a little 25 laps shy of that halfway mark. You pushed really diligently against Lofton to get this track position. Did you want to have the pace, or what was the reason to be in this P1 spot right now?
I wanted to lead the most laps I could, but just to say the brakes, it's a lot easier when we get out front, got some clean air to the nose. But this Harrison Workwear, number 77 Chevrolet, Mike Bledsoe Mechanical, Jim from Digital Repair Chevrolet is on stomp right now. Hopefully this weather holds off and we can put on a good show here, about 25 to go.
Any thoughts that you were having with your team that you were sharing that you could share with us and the fans?
We'll see what happens at the end, and then we can brag about it.
I love it. Trevor Ward going to chase for his second Martinsville clock. The teams have the car covers on the cars, and they're making their way over to get under an umbrella or shelter, hoping that these clouds clear out.
Thanks, Jacqueline. And Blake, I've read that response by Trevor there as, we're really confident in this race car, but we don't want to share it all that much, right?
That's quiet confidence there for Trevor Ward. And obviously, the speed that he showed, I think, showcased how confident he is in his race car. And, again, competitors, even when they step out of the car, they're competitors. They know that their families are watching, their teams are watching Flo. They don't want to, hey, 77 said he's doing this, or he's a little tight here, he's a little loose off the corner. They don't want to give that away.
So, unfortunately, we're under red flag conditions with 75 laps complete. The entire arsenal of track drying equipment and air tundras are on standby. Once the thumbs up is given from track services, we'll try to get the track dry and get this race back underway. We're going to step aside, though. Trevor Ward still leads. You're watching live coverage of the 2025 ValleyStar Credit Union 300s. And we appreciate all of you watching along on FloRacing as well as the NASCAR channel to come on back and watch it resume. So, Trevor Ward, Carson Lofton make up the front row for what will be a restart with 120 laps to go in the race, 20 laps to the halfway point. Here we go, back underway at Martinsville.
Oh, and a lot of cars slipping and sliding around, not near as much grip with all the rubber that's been taken. Connor Jones is out of the groove as they're side by side up front. So many cars sliding around trying to find some grip around this place.
Yeah, it does seem like this track has changed in some form or fashion, but everybody survives the opening lap after getting back underway. Lee Pulliam in the silver and blue number 1 car got kicked up out of line. He'll slide in behind Jared Fryer, who picks up a spot to get around that 1 car. It's Ward the leader, Lofton, Pembleton, Fryer, Pulliam, your top 5.
They're able to escape and get single file. Sam Yarborough on the inside of Connor Hall, still dealing with a little bit of damage right now on the nose of that 88 car that may have come with contact earlier as the yellow flag is out.
Caution is out again. This would be yellow number 6 by my count. Not seeing anything from our vantage point, but there it is. It's in fact the driver that you were just talking about, Blake, missing that left side bodywork. The last driver in the field, Chase Murphy, came to a stop at the end of the back straightaway and is rolling slowly down the pit lane.
I was just talking about the fact that despite the damage that he had taken on, that he was on the lead lap. I believe Ryan Matthews, who we got to catch up with there for a couple of moments with James Pike earlier, I believe he will be the recipient of the lucky dog. As we're now, again, continue to work laps under caution. So this halfway break coming up pretty quickly. As you can see, the Dylan Ward Racing Camp, all hands on deck for the JB Blackwell & Sons Trucking, number 13 of Chase Murphy right now.
Mentioned this yellow is going to be the 6th of the race. We had our first caution before we really even began the first lap with a stack up on the initial start of this race. Around lap 30, Jacob Boris cut down a right front tire, got up into the wall, ended his night. 8 laps later, the multi-car pileup in turns 1 and 2. Contact between Brandon Pierce and Donovan Strauss, both who have continued on, took out several competitors, including Landon Huffman, the runner-up from a couple of years ago. The car that just came down the pit lane drew caution number 4, Chase Murphy, after he had that left side door come off of his race car. Then the caution and red flag for rain, and now Murphy's car stopping on the backstretch is going to give Ryan Matthews that free pass we had talked about and slow this field for the 6th time. Let's get a pit side update from Jacqueline.
Taking a look right here at Landon Huffman, who's standing in his teammate's pit, the Carroll Speed Shop of Brandon Pierce, out of this race, but he's switched from his fire suit into his crew gear to help out whenever they have to come in and pit. Thumbs down for his night, but hopefully he can help out his teammate Brandon Pierce work his way up through the field.
Thanks, Jacqueline. And that's one of the many reasons why Landon is one of the more likable personalities across the late model stock car pit area at any track that he visits. Many people who may have suffered that type of a circumstance would have loaded up, went home, or found somewhere to hide where they may not be seen. Not Landon. He wants to jump in and do battle and see if he can help out his teammate Brandon Pierce to see if there's a chance for them to move that car forward and look for an opportunity to win this race. Pierce is running right behind the Hampton Heat winner Matt Waltz, right there on your picture in the second Carroll Speed Shop car. And as we've said, outside shot that Pierce could in fact take home this Virginia Triple Crown. You could tell by the designation of the window banner up on the top of the front of that race car. Pierce right now, as things stand, again unofficially, scored about, I would say, sixth of the remaining combatants in that Virginia Triple Crown championship potential.
And on that latest restart, we talked about Brandon Pierce kind of making his way quickly back up through the field after he got spun off of turn 2, went to the back, was driven back up to 20th, wasn't quite able to make so much progress in the couple of laps of that restart, but hoping that they can get the Carroll Speed Shop entry tuned up here well to try to go and challenge back up at the front of the field as we complete yet another lap under this caution flag. Right now would just be 14 laps before the halfway break here on lap 86.
Another car is elected to come down the pit lane. Looks like it's Connor Waddell, and from my vantage point, I'm not sure if he was able to get on the pit lane while it was open. They did close the pits this time through, so this may be his one and only shot to come to the pits. As this most recent time that the field has come by, they have closed the pits. So Waddell, who is making his first ValleyStar Credit Union 300, another quick bit of work on the back-end bodywork of that car as the rest of the field comes. The one to go and choose.
So Chase Murphy right now sitting 5 laps behind the race leader. Again, if you're just joining us, the cars that are out of contention here tonight, Chase Murphy, it appears that may be the case for that number 13 car in 34th. Landon Huffman, who we just saw a moment ago, in 35th. Jacob Borst, Tate Fogelman, Ronnie Bassett Jr. with an exhaust issue in 38th. And then, unfortunately, Daniel Silvestri, Blake Stallings. Their cars did not cross the start-finish line before they were knocked out of this one.
Half a lap away from the restart, and perhaps more importantly at this juncture of the race, we're going to be coming to a restart 12 laps away from halfway in this race. With the uncertainty of what the weather might do, this could be one of the most pivotal restarts of this event. Trevor Ward on the inside of the 77, Carson Lofton outside, Pembleton, Fryer, Pulliam, McKee your top 6. 12 to go till halfway. About Lofton trying to stay on the door of Ward if he can off of turn 2, but Ward has been so strong on the bottom of the racetrack on corner exit. He's got a half car length advantage to 3. Lofton sends it in on the top side to see if he can give it a fighting chance off 4, but Trevor is back to the point.
And that could have been a big moment for Landon Pembleton, who bottomed out there in the middle of the corner, but he gathers it back up, trying to go back and challenge for that 3rd position with Jared Fryer. Meanwhile, how about... you talk about the difference between experience. Doesn't get much bigger than what Lee Pulliam right now is running inside of the number 7 of Tristan McKee. Pulliam able to clear the youngster.
As we watch this battle continue down towards turn 1, everyone trying to duck down and protect the bottom, and it started to get a little bit physical there. Again, we're about now 10 laps shy from halfway. Due to the rash of cautions, the break has been extended to lap 110. Hopefully we can stay green for this 20-lap stretch as Ward just set the fastest lap of the race.
And again, Connor Jones struggling to get back going again on that initial start. He was running up towards the top 10. He kind of got out of the concrete, which there are a couple of weepers that still kind of linger at the very top end of the racetrack. He lost about 7 or 8 spots on that initial restart that we had after the rain delay, just trying to get back going and fighting hard right now. Riley Gentry, Cade Brown, and seeing exactly what Bobby McCarty was talking about when we got to catch up earlier with him, as caution flag back out.
And it is for a piece of debris on the back straightaway. So this will be caution number 7, second by my count for debris on the night thus far, and this one is on the backstretch. We do know that we've seen Connor Waddell come down the pit lane several times to try to strap up some of the bodywork on the back end of his race car. Not quite sure where this piece of bodywork may have come from.
Well, maybe in the hood. Or it looks like it would about fit that. So for Connor Waddell, looks like that's, and again, like you mentioned, had been coming down a number of times to try to get that car prepared and back underway. Tough start for Waddell, though. Was caught up in that spin, nothing that he could really do, and has been so impressive in his late model stock car starts, running Legends cars at Dominion Raceway for so much of this season, and has had a lot of success there. And there you see the hood of the 8B. And it looks like we're about a lap away from the cleanup truck coming around to get that piece.
Simultaneously, the safety crew has picked up, as you see there, a piece of debris towards the inside wall on the front straightaway. Track services now working their way to the backstretch to retrieve the hood that we believe came off of Waddell's car. So been hard to get in a bit of a rhythm since we restarted this race. It's been a stretch of yellow fever, 2 consecutive cautions about a handful of laps apart as we kind of shy up closer to that halfway point. And again, due to the rash of yellows and the red flag nature, the decision has been made to extend that race break up to lap 110. So a little bit more time to log more laps, hopefully under green flag conditions for these competitors, before deciding what adjustments they may want to make and should they take that chance when that break time comes.
And this all stemming from a lot of that early carnage that we saw, which, what's the one thing that fans, drivers always say about this Martinsville race is that the qualifying races, that's where things can get really crazy, but not necessarily the case this year from what we saw in terms of attrition or a lot of cars getting torn up. It was pretty clean and respectful from that standpoint here in the qualifying races, but it seemed to be the very first 20, 30 laps of this race that things kind of got a little hairy as we see the results of the choose going on here on the front straightaway. Again, Trevor Ward electing the bottom, Carson Lofton going to the top side. Landon Pembleton's been able to make up a couple of spots. He was able to choose on the inside in the 3rd spot.
The biggest one of them all for late model stock car competitors, the ValleyStar Credit Union 300. We're going to be about 4 laps away from this being an official race, with inclement weather still looming in the area, and Trevor Ward's car has seemingly been on a rail. Carson Lofton trying to see if he could perfect that outside lane, as we've seen it work several times throughout the qualifying races. He'll line up alongside. 4 to go from halfway. Been a wheel spin by Lofton there. He's right with Trevor Ward on the approach to turn 1 in the battle for the lead.
Seemed like Lofton had the position on entry, but Trevor Ward, I mean, we heard him in his words earlier today. He is really, really happy with his number 77 and proving that right there. Lofton got a great jump despite the wheel spin through the restart zone. But as they go to turn 1, it is still Trevor Ward the leader. Pembleton, though, challenging for second, and Lofton was barely able to shut the door in time.
Lofton was able to get down to the bottom. Pembleton was able to check up before getting hit by Fryer. Side by side here between Cody Kelly in the 16. Tristan McKee in the 7, kind of trapped to the outside. Behind McKee is Connor Hall. He's got a hole to duck into just behind Sam Yarbrough there to get himself from outside of that top side of traffic.
Yeah, whatever idea we had earlier in the qualifying races during the day about how the outside was working, that is not the case right now. And by the way, Trevor Ward just turned the fastest lap we've seen so far tonight of anybody in this race, a 20.381. So he is cooking right now in that number 77 car out front.
Ward trying to break free. This still the battle for about the 5th and 6th spot off the corner. Now McKee starting to bounce off the side of Sam Yarbrough. They touched a couple of times there on the backstretch. And as they come to the line, Trevor Ward is going to see the cross flags. We're halfway home. McKee dumps Yarbrough head on into the outside wall in front of the pack. What in the world? More cars jam up behind him. Burrow is caught up. So is Majeski.
Stuart Cruz and Chase Burrow at the tail end of this trying to get checked up. crazy, crazy circumstances right there on the front straightaway, and it destroys the 95 of Sam Yarborough.
Right as we got to the halfway point of this race, we saw some door banging going on there on the middle of the backstretch, and Sam Yarborough, judging by the movements in the cockpit of that race car, does not appear to be pleased at all with what just took place, and Stuart Cruz has ripped the front end off his ride. I'll tell you, Blake, at first glance, there was obvious contact going off into 3. Once they got out of 4, that was either a really badly misjudged attempt to get back inside or back behind Yarborough, or it was something egregious. It didn't look good.
So let's see off of 4, and I think that second assessment there of just trying to get back down to the bottom as quickly as you can to cover that spot. We're coming up on that halfway break, and just unfortunately, this is who gets caught in the tail end of it. Stuart Cruz in the 29, the 00 of Chase Burrow, Ty Majeski involved. Bobby McCarty also caught a piece of this as well.
Wow. Oh my goodness, that was Bumgarner.
Yeah, Michael Bumgarner, Dylan Harville, Riley Gentry, Jake Crum able to barely make it by this one. But yeah, just a total misjudgment there. But I think you can see by the looks of Sam Yarborough is not happy about this. He's got the Hans, he lets go of it, and I think he's showing his displeasure there with Tristan McKee.
An understandable frustration there from Yarborough, who has run this race several times and run very well in this race several times. Runner-up here in 2014. He was 10th in this race last year, running in the top 10 when the battle for position went bad with McKee. But my goodness, an unfortunate set of circumstances there. And again, whether McKee was trying to just duck back in line and just misjudged it in a dramatic fashion, or whether that was tempers boiling over from the contact the half lap before, we're not inside of either one of those race cars, but not a good look at all with that event unfolding, and especially right as we were hitting the point where this race was made official.
No, and you hope that that's the case, because if it's anything beyond that, that's unacceptable.
Well, it's a badly damaged number 95 for Sam Yarborough, and unfortunately in the stack-up, we collected Cars Tour Langley winner and Chase Burrow, who he had some bodywork removed on his car. Stuart Cruz, who had a great qualifying effort here last year, now finds himself back on the pit lane. And let's look at it again. This is now McKee kicked up to the high side. They made a little bit of contact down the back straightaway.
And again, that could be something as simple as your spotter can see that the 95 is clearing you and is telling you to get back down. And again, not even saying that was the case, but it can be something that's that simple. And you just lose track of where the nose of that race car is for just a moment.
And I think what looks the most detrimental here for McKee, and again, I'm not inside the race car, and I had not driven a late model stock car before, but Connor Hall was about a car length plus back. I don't know that he had to fill that void that quickly, because I don't think Hall was close enough to try to lunge to the inside and cost him another spot. Just not a great look at all. And you see the cars coming down the pit lane. We've been informed this is going to serve as the race break. So with the caution coming out and the cleanup taking place over on the front straightaway and over towards turns 1 and 2, officials have decided this is going to serve as the race break. And Bobby McCarty, who we heard from during the rain delay, he too sustained significant damage on that car and is driving back to the garage area. His chance at trying to win his first grandfather clock comes to an end just past the halfway point.
So an amendment to the plan for lap 110 to be the halfway caution rather than continue to run under the caution flag and have a 5 or 6 lap sprint. They're going to just do it here this time. And again, most of these pit stalls lined up essentially based on the qualifying order of these drivers and what they had at the start of this race. And being able to look out just from our vantage point to see how many cars have been able to kind of make their way forward is quite impressive, as we see the go signal given. So the 10-minute countdown has started for these drivers to work on their race cars.
And for some, perhaps trying to make some dramatic swings on their vehicles after the track conditions seem to have evolved after the rain shower and mist that lingered for a short while not that long ago. And the thumbs up has been given for these teams to be able to do whatever work necessary on their cars that they are allotted to, as Blake mentioned. to see if anybody has anything for Trevor Ward, who, as you said, Blake, it seemed to be every green flag lap in succession he would run the fastest lap of the race, one after the other after the other. And you see there the number 77, who Trevor was kind enough to mention during the rain delay after Jacqueline Drake was able to catch up with him, that he didn't want to let the cat out of the bag too much, but they are quite confident in the weapon that they brought to tonight's fight. And he is proving it not only on the stopwatch, but pretty much all race long. And hard to believe, when he won this race back in 2023, he only led 13 laps in that race. He's blown that margin out of the water as we throw it down trackside of Jacqueline Drake.
Yeah, we were just in the pits of the 95, and Chad McCumbee, who's part owner of that race team with Sam Yarbrough, was very unhappy in his opinions to the official, and not sure if there's going to be any call-ins with the on-track contact that happened there. But now we're looking at the 77 of Trevor Ward, and who has exited out of the car, and his dad said I think he ran off to the restroom. So he's been doing a great job, though, executing. You'll see the team filling up the car, changing the tires, slight adjustments. We spoke to him during that rain delay, to which he said he did feel like the track surface was going to change a bit with the rain washing, which we did see that in the grip. But overall, the 77 has been fast and has been continued to lead this field tonight.
Thanks, Jacqueline. And as we look up and down the pit lane, there seems to be a lot of frantic activity amongst a lot of the cars. Some of them have body damage, some of them making as many adjustments as they can. Not seeing that out of this 77 car and team. They're taking their time with this hot rod. They're happy about it as we check in on McKee, who was on the other side of that contact with the number 95, and they're going to work on that car as well. Doesn't appear that Tristan received too much damage there, but we see the work continuing on that machine. And again, Tristan is someone who, very young, talented, has proven himself on multiple levels. Started this particular race in fourth by virtue of winning the fourth qualifying race, and has himself up in a top 10 spot. But the big story up to this point in the event is the wreck with him and Sam Yarbrough on the front straightaway after they made contact just shy of the start-finish line, sending Yarbrough head-on into the outside wall.
I know Jacqueline mentioned Chad McCumbee being a part of this. Remember, just a couple of months ago at Hickory, again, there was kind of an incident involving that car and another McCumbee Elliott racing machine. As the rest of the field tending to their race cars right now, Cody Kelly just behind them, staying up towards the top 10. At this juncture, Jarrett Fryer also keeping up as well. And this is, again, this job had made a little bit easier for these teams that have had a lot of time under some of these caution flags to plan out exactly how they wanted to attack these 10 minutes. And whether it's the big teams or the small teams, it is all hands on deck right now.
And again, the way this race is scheduled to unfold, we could expect a similar break coming around lap 175, if you will. That would give us about a 25-lap or so shootout to the end of the 200-lap affair. Here's Cody Kelly, the driver who celebrated with a $5,000 check along with Martinsville Speedway track president Clay Campbell at the start of driver introductions today by virtue of laying down the quickest lap in pole qualifying, or I should say qualifying last night. He did start on the pole for his respective race earlier on and was able to parlay that up into a runner-up effort. Thus, he started fifth in tonight's race. And you see them adding fuel on that machine. And here's the Nelson Motorsports crew doing some work on Carson Lofton's car. And we've touched on Carson several times throughout the night. And this is a new relationship. And we see Connor Hall, who's running with Junior Motorsports now. He drove for the Nelson team in 2024. Had a lot of success with the organization. The year before that, Landon Huffman won his first career Cars Tour race in what was one of the big money events in 2023. And narrowly won this race with the team. But they tagged the third-generation driver. We saw his father Brian helping out earlier on. His grandfather Bobby also has raced for a very long time. And their pathway in motorsports has primarily been in open wheel modified competition. In fact, Carson made his smart modified debut at one of the most fastest and high grip racetracks you could ever imagine, Dominion Raceway. He out-qualified his dad that day, but he had to start in the back. And I remember saying to Carson, well, are you scared? And he smiled and said, nope. better opportunity to learn. And I reminded him of that story when he took this ride earlier this year and said, is that still the approach that you are taking, or is this the chance that you have to surely make the most of? And he said, I'm still learning, especially these cars, and I'll try to take every opportunity I can to put myself in those spots to accrue as much knowledge and information as I can. And Blake, the results have shown on the Cars Tour side, the Virginia Triple Crown side, he's been getting better and better as time has gone on, and the lowest he's run in this race is second as we go back to Jacqueline.
Yeah, we had a chance just to check in with Lee Pulliam team, who said he feels very comfortable. All they had to do was tighten up that number one just a little bit to adjust to the way the track has transitioned. But other than that, he's feeling very good, which is a problem for the other competitors when Lee Pulliam's feeling great.
Thanks, Jacqueline. And, you know, we've touched on Lee's story a couple times. Of course, two-time winner this season. And he came back to run this race 1 year ago and did quite well, as a matter of fact, in that contest. Perhaps the biggest stat that jumps off the page with Lee Pulliam and his relationship to Martinsville, he's made 11 starts in this race, excluding the 2 times that he did not qualify for the event. His first go-around, 2008, 2009, he's completed 99% plus of the laps. Only one race he got wrecked out late in the going. And how about this? This might be a bit of a developing story here. Tristan McKee being stopped by officials on pit exit.
And again, this is going to be a penalty that will continue under the green flag. We're hearing from race control a 2-lap penalty for reckless driving being assessed to the number 7 of Tristan McKee with that incident with Sam Yarborough. So a 2-lap penalty for Tristan McKee that, again, will continue when they go back under the green flag for reckless driving.
So evidently, after officials had a chance to look over that one, they saw what, from our vantage point and at first glance, something that didn't look all that great. Now, a couple of cars that were caught up in the aftermath of that contact that took place in the battle for the top 10. Bobby McCarty was swept up in that wreck. He's with Jacqueline.
Yes, Bobby was involved in that wreck, and we're standing by. Very upset. You can see right here as he's speaking to another crew. Bobby, what happened? You're clapping. You're obviously upset. What happened there?
It's just these kids, man. Like, I try to be respectful, and I try to teach them and help them and be that mentor, but Tristan McKee needs to just go on to ARCA or Cup or Xfinity or wherever it is he's going, because if he stays here, it's just somebody's going to get hurt. And I had a front row seat to it. I watched the whole thing happen. When you right rear somebody head on into the wall past the flag stand at Martinsville, you're trying to hurt somebody. And I don't mean it to be disrespectful, but I'm telling you, he needs to go on to ARCA, whatever it is he's going to do, and be very little at, because this ain't the place for him. That's not how we race here. That's not what we do. He just destroyed 2 race cars. For what? It don't mean, I've been doing this for a long time. I've been fortunate to win a lot of stuff. In 15 years from now, when you look at them trophies, it hurts to see when you know what you've done to win them. So, I don't know what to tell them. I can't be their parent. I can't raise them and teach them right from wrong. But something needs to be done, because that stuff that happened on the front stretch is going to kill somebody. And he'll get out and go play his phone or whatever it is. And like I said, I'm not trying to be rude or disrespectful, but somebody needs to snatch that kid up and teach him a lesson on, you know, how you race and how you be respectful. And, you know, even if you're upset with somebody, the last thing you do is right rear them halfway down the straightaway. So I don't know. I hate it for Jay and all his guys. We were coming up through there. I think we was like 15th or something, and I had nowhere to go. And I hate it for Sam. Sam's a really good friend of mine, and I watched it. I seen the car, the 7, just change direction right at the flag stand. Whether he was trying to fill a gap or whatever the case, it don't matter. It's every weekend with that same car. He don't need to be here no more. He needs to go on.
I see you making hands at his team. Have you had conversations with his team, or will you have a conversation with Tristan?
There's no talking to kids like that. Everything's just, you know, whatever. It don't matter to them. It's just another race. It's just another race car. And like I said, I hate it. I think the kid can be really good. He should have won South Boston, but he don't know how to control himself or his emotions. So, you know, hopefully someday he'll figure it out. I really hope so, because this stuff, like I said, we all want to race hard. We all want to be competitive, and I've made bonehead moves. I'm not going to pretend to be perfect. And it took somebody snatching me up and saying it was Timothy Peters. Say, look, man, we don't do that. You know what I mean? And I just don't. I think it's went on too far. I don't see nothing happening.
Strong and pointed words from the three-time Cars Tour champion who, as he said, has been in those shoes before. Again, McKee assessed a multiple lap penalty. Cleanup has concluded. First race break in the books. Coming around to begin lap 108 of this race. Next scheduled break going to come with about 25 laps to go. So, Trevor Ward, Carson Lofton, everybody's had a chance to make adjustments. What's going to happen here? Behind them, Landon Pembleton, Jared Fryer, then Lee Pulliam and Cody Kelly, your front six. It's going to be 92 laps to go. Here's Lofton with a bit of an edge on the outside going into turn one. Pembleton gives Ward a shot, and Lofton's got to drive off the corner. How about 3 wide for the lead?
And Pembleton not going to back out of it as they go down into turn number 3, but Trevor Ward is able to get clear. However, new leader as Carson Lofton back up to the front here at Martinsville.
Lofton trying to get to the bottom. He gets a shot from Trevor Ward after Pembleton also gave a nudge to the backside of the 77 as he looks down low for second.
Crazy racing as everybody trying to file back down to the bottom of the racetrack. The front 7 or 8 cars are able to do just that. It's just Cade Brown right now trying to stay inside the top 10, who's on the outside of the 97 of Michael Bumgarner. As they've single filed out, Connor Hall just been slow and methodical all race long, trying to get back up inside the top 10. Bumgarner makes up the spot on Cade Brown.
Here's Riley Gentry trying to get back up into a top 5 spot. And how about this? Of the top 7, 5 of the top 7 just ran their fastest lap of the race. Business is picking up here as Gentry has gotten around Cade Brown to move up into the 9th position.
Good stuff happening up here. And oh man, what a big gaggle of cars here. We talked about Connor Jones, just a little bit of a slip up that he had on that restart a couple laps ago. This is what you have to do. Just slowly drive back up through the field. It takes quite a bit of time. How about the 40 of Ryan Millington? A little bit of a new look to that race car. Many fans that have been watching late model stock racing kind of know his iconic yellow-black number 15, but he gets a shot right here, and he's got a problem in 1 and 2. Ryan Millington off the pace, and that's going to draw our latest caution flag of the night.
So Millington in at number 40.
Or it should. It's still green.
Now they're able to throw the caution. I think they were hoping that Millington would somehow be able to get that car back rolling, but we did see it kind of slow abruptly at the end of the front stretch and then get up out of line and come to a stop at the exit of turn number 2. And this is going to draw caution number 9.
So as we were talking about a new look for Ryan Millington with this Taylor Satterfield group, he was a crew chief for Taylor Satterfield earlier this year at Anderson Motor Speedway, had been running in the Cars Tour full time, and you can see the signal, which is a bit urgent here to the track officials because of the fact that these caution laps count, that he's asking for that car to be pushed so he can roll back to the pit area. But again, is at the mercy of the trucks being able to come out and utilize with that push that's out there. It just takes a little while. And that's what he's trying to signal to the track crew as we see battling side by side for Connor Jones, and that is what may have done it there for Millington. Contact with Connor Jones in 3 and 4 cuts that tire down.
The car then washes up and gets way up out of dodge off of turn 2, keeps it off the wall, and then comes to a stop, and he's not able to refire the car and get it back to the pit lane. We'll see it again here going off into the corner. Heads up job by Donovan Strauss after that car had the hiccup in the middle of 1 and 2. Strauss did get into the back of that 40 car, but not enough to turn it sideways in front of the pack that they were all racing with. As we mentioned, our 9th caution, and that includes the yellow and red flag that went about an hour and 3 minutes distance for rain, just about in the midpoint of this yellow flag spreadsheet that we've started to build amongst ourselves after we had our 3rd lead change with Carson Lofton getting back out in front. And this is going to be the first time since the start of the race that Carson is going to have control when it comes to the choose and restart.
You can see Millington, he's taking the gloves off already. He's taking the window net down, so Millington trying to point out exactly what is wrong with this race car as the crew looking at it. But was just going to talk about his drive up through the field. Again, not very characteristic of Millington to start where he did, all the way back in the 35th position. Struggled in the qualifying races as he fell back, was able to do enough to stay in the show, and it had an impressive run up into the top 15 of this race before suffering a problem late in the going here after the halfway break. An unfortunate end to his bid to try to take home a grandfather clock.
And they'll continue to try to see if they can diagnose and address whatever issue is plaguing that car. But Millington himself now is going to jump out of the car and see if he can try to survey what the problem may be. And there does not appear to be too much urgency to try to get him back in this race. Clicking off more laps here under the yellow flag. Again, the next scheduled break and opportunity for these teams should come with about 25 laps to go. There's 82 laps to go right now. So we may be looking at another short sprint to that break point before the short sprint to the finish of the ValleyStar Credit Union 300 with Carson Lofton, the new race leader. And I say new, he did lead the opening go-around as the pole sitter early in this race, but it didn't take long for Trevor Ward to take that top spot away, although he got that lead with some assistance after a bit of a nudge from Landon Pembleton to the backside of Trevor Ward, knocked him up off the bottom of the racetrack, giving Lofton the launch on the outside of turn 2 to get that lead away. Pembleton still rides in third, Jared Fryer in the 14 car fourth, and Lee Pulliam rounding out the top 5.
And I think this is kind of classic Lee Pulliam fashion, right? Hasn't been mixing it up so much on the front row just yet. But just give him time, right? Just wait until the pay window starts opening in this race. And I hope he's enjoying this one. I know he's definitely been enjoying this one. As we see the results of the choose, man, Connor Hall, Gentry, and Bumgarner all chose the bottom. So Cade Brown able to jump by 3 race cars to try and jump up for the restart. Real quick, though, let's check down with James Pike.
Ryan Millington done for the night here in the ValleyStar Credit Union 300. Was it a tire situation, or what was it that put you out?
Yeah, we ended up having motor problems, not sure exactly what, but can't thank Taylor Satterfield and them enough for everything. We came from 37th tonight up to 13th or 14th, had a really good car, and something happened with the motor, but solid night, can't complain too much.
Ryan Millington showcasing racecraft, driving through the field still.
Thanks, Pike. Here we go. Lofton, the control car on the bottom. Ward leaves a bit early, perhaps. We'll see how the officials deem that one. Ward is gone compared to the rest of the pack.
Well, again, this was the first start of the night where he wasn't the leader. It was Carson Lofton who was the control car. And, I mean, Trevor Ward, he made a statement at least. He is gone right now, 7 or 8 car lengths ahead. Start-finish line this time. Brandon Willard's not holding a black flag, so at least for the time being, Trevor Ward, 77 car, is your race leader.
And Ward has the lead of about 3/4 of a second right now as things stand. Lofton back to second. Here's Fryer on the outside of Landon Pembleton, who washes up the track, does the 0 car. Able to catch it before it gets too far up into Fryer. And now Lee Pulliam to the inside of the 1, trying to get back up to the front 4.
That beautiful gray and blue number 1 wrapping the bottom great right now, trying to get around Jared Fryer. And just behind them, battle that's had a little bit of contact. And there is the black flag from Brandon Willard as Trevor Ward crosses the stripe. Your race leader, assess the black flag.
The most dominant car of the race, Trevor Ward, for jumping the restart, being black flagged and coming to the pit lane under green. And that kicks the door wide open for the rest of the field.
So Ward having to safely get back down to pit road speed. His stall would be all the way at the front of the field because he essentially almost led the field to the green flag. But in turns 3 and 4, battle for the race lead. Carson Lofton looking for his first big win in a late model stock, and Landon Pimbleton, a former winner of the ValleyStar Credit Union 300, racing door to door with him for the lead. And then here comes Lee Pulliam right behind him.
Pulliam with the veteran prowess just waiting in the wings behind him in third spot. Pembleton washes up, gets into the driver's door slightly aloft him. A four-wheel drift up off the corner. Pembleton the leader at the line by half a car length, with Pulliam trying to fill the void at the bottom.
Pulliam going to try to look low and get the drive off to try and challenge Carson Lofton for the second position. Pembleton has the spot. Pulliam sends it in deep, washes up into the 22, but he gets that second position. And now how about Hartsville, South Carolina's Cody Kelly looking for third right now on the inside of the 22.
Kelly got around Fryer a few laps ago, now trying to get around Carson Lofton. It's Pembleton to the point, Pulliam to second. Now Kelly to the inside of Lofton. He washes up the track in the middle of 3 and 4 with Fryer watching on, and Connor Hall is creeping up into the mix.
Connor Hall, Riley Gentry, another driver in that 09 that's starting to catch this little pack of race cars right now, is Cody Kelly trying to challenge for a spot up in the top 3. Lofton, I mean, honestly, doing a great job right now holding on the outside of the racetrack right now. If Kelly can make this move quickly, he's got a shot to try and chase down your top 2. Pulliam, though, is reeling in Landon Pimbleton lap by lap.
What a great battle we've got here for third. And as you said, Blake, a tremendous effort by Lofton being able to make that top group work. The bad news, though, for Kelly is that Jared Fryer is drawing ever closer to the back bumper of his race car, as Lofton may have the pass protected for now, but he couldn't get all the way to the bottom to seal it off going into 1.
And this is an example of what you want to see right here. Great racing. Carson Lofton and Cody Kelly, somebody that works on his own stuff. Been winning multiple races and championships over the years at Florence Motor Speedway. And Lofton doing a great defensive job right now, but you can see the cars starting to pile up behind him. It's not just Kelly or Fryer and even Connor Hall. Riley Gentry is now a part of this. And in fact, Gentry a couple laps ago was the fastest car of any car on the racetrack right now. So some of the South Carolina boys showing pretty well right now, trying to drive up into the top 3.
And this is the traditional formula in short track racing. When you start to see cars leaving from out the windshield, and you got one that may feel like a bit of a bottleneck, things start to get aggressive. Here's Fryer with a lunge down low in turn 3. Now it's Kelly kicked up to the top side with Fryer to the bottom. Now the fight for fourth.
I think Fryer wanted to save his equipment to let Kelly try to get by the 22, and I think he just ran out of patience and says, I'll try to do it if you can't get by him. So Jared Fryer to the inside of the number 16. Again, this is for position number 4. Meanwhile, this has allowed your top 2 to continue driving away, as Fryer able to nose out in front to get that spot. Can Kelly get back down before Connor Hall is there? Survey says yes, but just for a moment.
And as for that top 2, last time around, they were separated by 100th of a second on the stopwatch. They're running nearly identical lap times these last few laps as Lofton protects third, Fryer to fourth. A little bit further back, here's Ty Majeski. Haven't talked much about him with the trials and tribulations he's had all day. Looking to the inside of Dylan Harville to try to get to 11th.
And it has been a second half resurgence of the ages here for Ty Majeski, who has been struggling all night long. For a majority of the race was outside of the top 25. They got to be able to work on this car at the halfway break, and what a difference it has made. And also what an effort here for Dylan Harville. Small team that he's able to make this work with. Had to abandon a lot of races at Ace Speedway that he wanted to run this season in preparation to make this night possible and to be here. And he's done an incredible job so far in each of these ValleyStar Credit Union 300s that he's been able to run. And finally, here's the battle for third. It took Jared Fryer about 3 or 4 laps to chase down Carson Lofton in the 22, and he's there to the inside of the Napa Toyota.
Fryer trying to better what was the best result of 5th in 2021, bouncing off the side of Lofton off the corner, who holds the spot at the stripe by the narrowest of margins.
Oh, that slide may have been just enough. Lofton going to be able to hang out barely to the right rear into turn number 3, but Jared Fryer looking to get on by is going to be able to do it, and now Kelly looking to do the same in the 16.
As Kelly looks to the bottom, Jared Fryer has been on an unbelievable roll lately in a late model stock car. Since his first win on the Cars Tour part-time slate he's been running at Orange County, he's gone second, first, second, third in his Cars Tour late model stock races. Now up into a podium spot is Fryer, while Kelly gets a little bit sideways underneath Lofton.
And also an update, if you're keeping track with Trevor Ward, the race leader, he is still on the lead lap. He had a pass-through penalty.
Trouble. Connor Jones gets turned, then backed into the wall after he and Cade Brown made contact in what was a 3-wide battle inside the top 10. And our 10th caution of the night is going to come at the expense of Connor Jones, who was in a top 10 spot at the time. Cade Brown was in that scene, as was Ty Majeski, and it's Jones who backs his Jones Utilities number 44 into the wall hard.
And this is them coming off of turn number 4. Majeski just going to peek to the inside. I'm sure Cade Brown getting the call from the spotter that you're 3 wide. And I think that's just the case. He was respecting that Majeski had that position as they went into the corner in just a tough, staggered 3-wide situation.
You see Jones has climbed from the car after that pretty hard shot there going into turn number 1, especially in one of these late model stock cars. He's okay. Second year in a row he's made this race, and again was running up in the top 10, looking to better the efforts of 2024, coming off a second place finish in the most recent Cars Tour race in South Boston. And ever since, he had to come from that last chance race in a $50,000 to win event at Hickory to charge up to a third place effort. This team and driver have been able to turn things around, but their 2025 ValleyStar Credit Union 300 is going to come to a premature end, just shy of the 3/4 distance mark of this event. There's Cade Brown, and again, it looked as though perhaps all 3 drivers not necessarily aware that they were in a 3-wide situation going into the corner.
Well, and that's where it's so difficult if you're Connor Jones in that situation, because you have the 98 look in, and again, Cade Brown, respecting that the 98 was there, gave him enough room as if the 98 was going to have the inside, and you could see Jones with a little bit of a point there, I'm sure, to the 4 of Cade Brown. But that's just a very difficult situation when you're scattered like that, and he was trying to respect that car on the inside. But again, a tough ending to the night for Connor Jones, who was very, very good early in this race, and heck, Eric, I think picked up a lot of fans with his interview with Jacqueline Drake a little bit earlier on in the night. They were happy to see that he was enjoying being at Martinsville Speedway.
So Cade Brown, who is going to race against and with Connor Jones in the final 2 Cars Tour races of the season, continues on right now in the top 10 spot with Ty Majeski after we documented his ability to charge up through the field. Pit lane open this time by. There are some takers, including Donovan Strauss, the AK Performance number 98. Caden Quapple. Haven't talked a lot about that Junior Motorsports entry throughout most of the night. Connor Waddell in the 8 car, and Mike Looney, that team deserves, I would say, the resiliency award of the race all night long. That car got destroyed in the opening sector of this race, not even before they got to the start-finish line. And Looney and team have been working on that thing all night long as Caden Quapple's team does some repairs on the right rear quarter panel.
Yeah, they've had to do a lot of work to this car since that incident. I believe it was the one where Brandon Pierce spun in the middle of 1 and 2 that this 8 car was wrapped up in, and they've just been trying to go to work on it throughout. And yeah, you're exactly right, Mike Looney. Right now, I mean, looking at a car that can't keep pace with what a lot of these drivers are running, although he continues to improve and isn't so far off at this point, but 27th right now for Mike Looney, which looked to be as if he wouldn't be able to continue on that opening lap incident, and yet here he is. You might even have a top 25 out of this, depending on how many people survive the last almost 50 laps of this race. But this is what I'm curious to see. Up front, Pulliam and Pimbleton. Pulliam was able to run him back down, and even we kind of heard McCarty allude to it earlier in his interview that it can be difficult when you're rolling really well. You get back just behind a car in traffic, and to be able to carry that momentum is just a little bit more difficult here. We'll see what Pimbleton can do. Pimbleton's going to the bottom. Lee Pulliam taking the front row, going to go to the outside.
A pair of Virginia drivers battling for the most lucrative race in Virginia late model racing, perhaps in all of late model short track racing. And Pembleton back in his family-owned equipment. That's how he won this race a handful of years ago. And for Lee Pulliam, his return to this race last year was his first time back since 2019. He finished 13th. He told our friend at FloRacing's Rob Blount, the reason why I'm coming back again this year, I didn't think I did a good enough job a year ago. I wonder how he would assess his efforts up to this point, pretty much being in the top 5 all night long, and now on the outside of the front row for the ensuing restart, looking for what would be a record-tying 3rd grandfather clock. Pembleton, the control car on the bottom in the 1. Coming around a 54 to go. Final race break going to come with about 25 to go. It's Pembleton and Pulliam with Fryer and Lofton in row 2.
Pembleton first control he's had of a restart, goes a little bit later in the zone. Lofton gets a little bit of a shot behind from the 16 of Cody Kelly. They nearly touch off of turn number 2. They're single file through your front 3. And how about Connor Hall in a position now? Oh, and Bumgarner, 97 car is off the pace at 3 and 4.
Bumgarner, battle for the lead. Here's Pulliam down to the inside for the top spot on Pembleton in turn 1.
Off at turn 2, the battle of the LPs up here at the front of the field at Martinsville Speedway. Pulliam sends it in deep into 3 and 4. Looking for the race lead. New leader at Martinsville. Lee Pulliam pulls ahead of Landon Pembleton.
He left just enough room for Landon to try to battle back on the outside, but it's Pulliam who gets the drive off the corner. Coming around to 51 laps to go. Lee Pulliam to the point, with Fryer now ducking low for 2nd on Pembleton.
And Fryer, just like any other driver, smelling blood in the water there, trying to take advantage of Landon Pembleton being stuck on the outside row. And see if he can take advantage of what's happening here. But Pembleton, enough of a drive off of turn number 2 that it's going to be enough to hold off for 2nd. But Lee Pulliam, can you believe it, is leading here at Martinsville. Hasn't run a race since this race a year ago. And here he is leading at the front of the field in the biggest late model stock car race there is.
50 laps to go in this race, which would mean from here on out about halfway to what could be the final chance for these drivers and teams to work on their cars. Here's Connor Hall to the inside of Carson Lofton to put Hall in a top 5 spot for the first time tonight.
Again, it's close right now with what we saw in that latest caution for the Virginia Triple Crown. Cade Brown is close. Carson Lofton, with where he is running, is close. Big slide for Connor Hall as 2 of your top drivers in the Triple Crown points battle each other right now side by side.
And how about Jay Crum entering the picture? Just about the first time we've called his number all night long. Another former winner of the ValleyStar Credit Union 300. Did it in 2009. Into the back of Connor Hall off the corner. He's to the bottom side with Hall shoving a finger or 2 out the window.
And been doing it in impressive fashion. Jake Crum, again, driving up through the entire field, and he's pretty much done it all under green. Celebrated his 34th birthday just a couple of days ago. And here he is. He ran 6th in this race a year ago, battling with Connor Hall right now and allowing Carson Lofton to get away.
Crum on the bottom in the 12. Hall on the outside in the 88. Ty Majeski getting a spot from Riley Gentry to move up to 8th.
So impressive what Majeski's been able to do in a tale of 2 halves in this race. They needed that break so much at the halfway point to be able to work on this race car. And that 98 has evolved over the course of a day from a car that didn't have a motor to start the day to a car that is an absolute rocket ship right now for Chad Bryant Racing.
Hall fighting a good fight on that top side right now, and here comes Majeski, maybe trying to size up Crum if he can, in a similar way that Crum was able to size up Connor Hall to get him out from underneath Carson Lofton, who has broken free from this battle. Here's Majeski with a good drive off 4, peeking to the inside. Crum tries to cover the spot. How's this going to work?
Majeski's there, and he's going to show the nose down into turn number 1, but man, does that get him loose with how he had to enter the corner. And how about Parker Eatman, another driver competing for the Triple Crown here tonight? He's moving up towards the top 10, had an incredible run at South Boston Speedway in the 200, and yet here he is up in the top 10 late in the going for Hettinger Racing.
He's trying to back up that run with a great drive at the Cars Tour race at South Boston a couple of weeks ago. He may have been considering about getting his pilot's license after a big air flying crash there. He's rebounding quite well. Let's go to Pike. We'll try to touch base with Pike in a moment as we got Tristan McKee off the pace and smoking on the front stretch. Camden Gully is off the pace on the front stretch as well. Race staying green as Majeski's to the inside. Now the caution flag is out. And I believe it's going to be for Gully, former track champion at Orange County Speedway, whose car is slowed abruptly on the main straightaway. I'm not sure he's going to be able to make it back around.
It looks like he's going to take that hard left-hand turn down into the garage area, and a tough ending to this one for Camden Gully. Had been running in the top 15 for the majority of the night. Really, really strong run for him in his qualifying race earlier. His father, Jason, competed in this race 7 times in the ValleyStar Credit Union 300, finished second in 1995 in this race, which, again, that was 5 years before Camden was born. And just a really solid effort here, but unfortunately going to come to an early end.
This caution comes out with about 41 laps to go. It'll be 40 to go when they hit the stripe. And the original designation from the rule book was that this second segment of the race would bring us around that lap 175 mark. So we're only about 15 laps away from that point now as we complete lap number 60, or we start working lap number 60, I should say, with Lee Pulliam and Landon Pembleton, 2 drivers who know what it is like to win a race here at Martinsville. As you see, Tristan McKee, we noted that car was smoking about the same time that Camden Gully had his issues, and his night appears to be over as well.
So we're coming up in a situation here. Again, we have the lap 175. Caution to look forward to. So going to be a quick sprint here to the 25 to go caution.
You see McKee with the helmet off and now going to reconvene with his race team and family here, or perhaps grab a cold drink on what has been a long night for him. An eventful night for the young man, and again, perhaps one of the biggest stories of this race up to this point, outside of the tremendous battle we've had for the lead, the contact between McKee and Sam Yarborough. The most recent caution prior to this one involved Connor Jones, who got turned from a top 10 spot. He's with Pike.
Connor Jones just checked out of the infield care center. First, Connor, are you okay?
Yeah, I'm good.
Second off, what did you feel? What happened from your perspective?
I just feel like it's what happens every time I try and race Kate for about 3 or 4 laps. I got to his outside and he crossed me over. I got under him going into 1. He crossed me over, and then raced him for about 3 laps on the top before he just tried to dump us, or did dump us. He's done that a couple times to me this year, so I don't know.
Frustration for Connor Jones. I can also say that while we were over here waiting for him, that all of Michael Bumgardner and Trevor Ward and Camden Gully pulled it either into pit road or behind the wall.
Thanks, Pike. At this point in the race, tempers are going to start to boil over a little bit. The action is going to pick up a little bit more as they come to the one to go and choose this time by. And we'll duck down the pits really quick to Jacqueline Drake.
Standing by here with Tristan McKee. Tristan, I know there's a lot of contact there. Do you have anything to say real quick?
Yeah, I was kind of getting freight trained on the outside there, and my spotter just said quick clear down, and super sorry to those guys. I just kind of misjudged it, and my spotter said quick clear down. It's everything to get down to the bottom here, and when you kind of get on the outside and you're not rolling it well, you're just getting past. So I was just trying to get down. It was nothing intentional at all. So it was just a mistake really on my part, and my spotter told me clear, so I cut down. So it was just a racing deal. I don't know, motor ended up blowing up there, so it was kind of down on power a little bit the whole race there, and we had a really good race going. I thought we were a top 3 car once we get some track position there, but overall good race. My guys brought me a really fast car.
Thanks, Jacqueline. Back underway. Contact here in the battle for 5th on back. That's Hall on the low side. It's Pulliam who got the jump on the restart. Hall on the bottom in the 88. Jake Crum following him through. Lofton kicked up to the outside in the 22. Ty Majeski trapped up top there as well. All this going on for 5th on back in 3.
It's the last thing that Connor Hall wants is to be, in this controversy is there is some contact there off of turn number 4. Connor Hall able to get clear. Now Jake Crum into the back of Lofton. Lofton, a big slide there. A little bit of damage to the left rear quarter panel. Here comes Jake Crum looking to the inside in 3. Lofton trying to protect it, and Majeski trying to use any lane he can to get around the 12th car.
I think we reached the point in this race where the gloves are just about off. Lofton is now faded to 6. Look at Majeski trying to squeeze up to the outside of Crum and not hit the outside retaining wall as Crum muscles his way to the bottom on Carson Lofton for this battle for 6th.
And Majeski just waiting, trying to take advantage. We've seen him kind of peek the nose outside, or to the inside rather, a couple of times to make some 3 wide moves. Isn't able to get the momentum to do it there. But Jake Crum, if he can get clear of the 22, he has had so much long run speed in this car as we continue to work our way towards the finish of this race. And just able to get clear of Carson Lofton.
Majeski now is going to try to see if he can keep Lofton pinned up top. Lofton about overcooked the entry to turn 1, and here comes the love tap from the truck champ. Majeski nudges Lofton. He has to check up off the corner. Parker Eatman looking for some running room in the 71 behind him.
Got to say, Carson Lofton has just been so impressive in terms of, yes, his car may be fading, the brakes may be going, handling may not be exactly where he wants it, but to drive like he has defensively has been really impressive in this race, to hang in the middle, to make it difficult of a car to pass. And again, he's just racing hard. He's doing exactly what he's supposed to do, and he's done a great job of it so far. But that doesn't mean Ty Majeski still doesn't want by him.
He's been able to withstand some of the nudges and taps as the caution flag is going to fly with 30 laps to go.
And it's for precipitation. And I didn't see that on a camera lens, just saw it out the window here just a little bit. That is falling here at the end of this one at lap 170.
It's going to be caution number 12, and unfortunately our second for inclement weather. This one coming with 30 laps to go in this race. And again, we were about 5 laps away from what was going to be an anticipated yellow for the final opportunity for race teams to make adjustments on their cars, setting up the sprint to the finish. But as we said, there was some inclement weather still in the area. First glance at this particular cell. Honestly, Blake, not quite sure. I mean, I'd say most of the heavy stuff is north and south of the Speedway, but there's a good bit of moisture all around the racetrack. This doesn't appear to be all that heavy, but this has been a very quickly changing type of weather system and pattern we've been navigating through over the course of, I'd say, not only the last 24 hours here at the track, but even just predicting what was going to happen with the rain.
And at least from what we can look at on the radar, just like you said, heavy rain very far to the south. We're talking the Raleigh area, or the Alamance area. So well south of here, and anything that's a little bit heavier, like you said, just a couple of miles to the north. So we're kind of in this area where we almost split the rain. There's just a little bit passing through, but there's nothing coming in behind it. So we're hoping that this is just a very brief, momentary pause. I haven't seen a ton of crews going back to the trailer to try and grab a cover. So hoping, and at least I'm sure many of these teams hoping that this will be a quick pause. And if anything, I wouldn't be surprised if this becomes the lap 175 break. We're already at lap 172. So maybe we ride this out under caution for the next 2 or 3 laps or so, get that break, and then where it's supposed to be, and then assess where we are from there.
With Lee Pulliam out in front of this race. And as we said, going for what would be a record-tying third ValleyStar Credit Union 300, tying him with short track ace Philip Morris. And that would also remove him from what is a tie for top honors as a 2-time winner of this event with Timothy Peters And for Pulliam, we kind of documented the story a good bit and several times, and we referenced the start that he made here last year after being away from the race car and away from the event for quite some time. It was a promise to fulfill to his father, who was a bit under the weather, and happy to report that all is well now. But he was able to promise that if his father was able to get better, he would strap back into a race car and go try to win another clock. And they tried that last year, qualifying in 8th and finishing 13th for a race that he had been away from. And as a matter of fact, he really didn't race at all during that stretch of time. And it has not taken him all that long to get acclimated to what it takes to get around here in a late model stock car as the rain begins to fall harder.
And I think if you're Lee, I'm not sure if you wanted to rain harder or not. It's perhaps getting to that point for him. But the one thing that impresses me so much about what Lee has been able to do, again, is we've been able to watch him as a team owner that competes largely in the Cars Tour throughout the last couple of seasons, is the relationship that Lee is able to build with his drivers. We know Lee Pulliam, and sure, many fans know Lee Pulliam as the spectacular race car driver that he is. But to see what he's been able to do outside of the race car, not just turning wrenches on the cars and bringing really fast cars, whether it's been a Brendan Queen or a Doug Barnes and Laney Bice that have been behind the wheel for him this year, but for what he's been able to do in building relationships with those drivers outside of the race car has been so impressive and fun to watch, and I think has continued to grow his appreciation for the opportunities he has to be behind the wheel. You think about Brendan Queen, I mean, it is well documented, the brotherhood, and that's the proper word to use here, brotherhood, that he and Brendan share. Heck, Lee is always watching Brendan when he's running the Arkham and Art Series. I can guarantee you that that's exactly what Brendan is doing here for Lee and showing whatever support that he can.
And for Lee, the whole reason behind stepping out of the cockpit of a race car and shifting more onto an ownership role was the state of the business of the sport. He and his wife wanted to start a family. They wanted to make sure that they were able to do what they wanted to while being able to support them, but also still being a part of the sport. And it made more business sense for Lee to be able to run the race team as its own operation, yielding his own love and passion for driving these race cars. And now that he's been able to come back and dabble into it a couple of times, and Blake, I'll extend something that you said there about Brendan Butterbean Queen, who was a pilot for Lee last year to a championship, and they remain best of friends. When Butterbean won Daytona in the ARCA race earlier this year, he said in his post-race press conference about Lee, he has just enough talent, if not more, and he should be here. He's good enough to compete on this level and win. And wouldn't you know, less than about 10 months later, Lee could be 25 laps or less away from his third ValleyStar Credit Union 300 win.
And it wasn't just drivers that have run for Lee. It is drivers that have raced against Lee. I remember was listening to Lane Riggs. He won at Bristol Motor Speedway in the Craftsman Truck Series last year, and was listening to his interview on the radio, and the first thing he said was how crucial and how important it was for Lee's influence in his racing career, and the fact that he got to run against what he called the best of the best in Lee Pulliam, even again when they were running at Bristol in late model stock cars not too many years ago in the Cars Tour. So it's a respect level across the pit area, and even Rob Blount mentioned that in the wonderful piece that they did earlier with Lee, was up and down the pit area, whether it was last year or this year. The amount of respect that he has amongst the garage area is second to none.
And from the fans as well. Got quite the reception and driver introductions. As you see, the red flag is out, and this is not for the scheduled break that we were anticipating with 25 laps to go. And that's where we sit right now. 25 laps remain in the advertised distance of the ValleyStar Credit Union 300. And again, we're kind of waiting to see what this weather pattern is going to do. And we've already proven once tonight that we have an arsenal of track drying equipment here in attendance at Martinsville Speedway. And I think that we now will kind of wait and see what direction we head here in terms of the status of this race and what this weather pattern is going to produce, as it's been pretty much unpredictable all throughout the week and weekend. So as things stand right now, it is Pulliam, Pembleton, Fryer, Cody Kelly, Connor Hall, your top five. Hall trying to cement the Virginia Triple Crown presented by FloRacing, and he would do so in that fifth spot as things stand. Jay Crum runs sixth. Carson Lofton in seventh. Majeski, Eatman, and Grady, your top 10.
Well, what were you saying about what they hope is on the case now? I think Lee knows that he gets a grandfather clock if it keeps raining, so he looks up to the sky, to the heavens. Yes, pour it on there. Keep it coming. You see Carson Lofton taking an opportunity to get a little bit of a drink here as well. And again, just in a light holding pattern, as again, we kind of were at the splitting part of where this rain was. Yeah, there he wants it. Keep it coming.
I would imagine some say it's hard enough to win this race no matter the circumstances, and you want to win them any way you can get them. I think Lee is proving why. Let's go trackside to Jacqueline.
Beautiful.
We're standing down here in the pit area. Quite literally, Lee Pulliam just looked at the clouds and said, beautiful. And his team is doing the rain dance, because if this does become a called race, you will be the race winner. And the third Martinsville clock will be headed home to you. Are you going to line them up? Like, are you already thinking about that side by side?
Man, it'd be awesome. It's a little early to think about it, but please keep raining, Lord. Bring the rain. So I'm an old guy. I need a break. Just so thankful. I mean, I absolutely love this sport and love being a part of it, and never take for granted your opportunity to drive these race cars. So it is an absolute blessing, and I've had such a fun time with my guys.
I want to back up just a little bit, because you said, I'm an old guy, I need a break. For someone who's in the seat once a year, the physical aspects that you go under today, obviously it's a little bit cooler than some of these late model races, but talk to us a little bit about that.
Oh, I grew up logging. I mean, I grew up working hard. I didn't have any money, and I had to work hard, and we didn't have air conditioning, and we worked through some summer heat, and I'm used to it. So I got no quit in me, and just having a great time. So big thank you to Best Repair, Folsom Fence, and Carolina Drilling. I wouldn't even be here today, and it's been a lot of fun.
Well, we got 25 more laps left to go in this race feature. We're going to let you sit in the rain and think about it just a little bit more, but currently our race leader is Lee Pulliam. Sending it over to James, who's standing by.
Thanks, Jacqueline. We'll try to touch base with James here in a moment. But I'll tell you what, Blake, what a dramatic shift there. It's almost as if Lee was obviously playing up to the fact that he would love for this thing to keep raining. But it only took him a couple of moments for him to kind of look up at the grandstands and see what was around him and recognize where exactly he was. And the emotion set in for him right away as to what it would mean should this thing not get back going, or even if it does get back going and he hangs on and wins it. It was a very powerful emotional shift for Lee between joking a little bit about the rain still falling, but then recognizing the gravity of this race.
And I think that's why, again, that respect level is so high amongst his competitors. And what he mentioned, I think, was perfect, that he's with his guys and being able to carry the banner for him. He's been able to do it as an owner, so proud to do it as a driver, and just hoping that now, yes, he is hoping that it doesn't stop, as we'll catch up with James Pike, who's with Ty Majeski, who continues to march through this field.
Ty Majeski, your car was bare bonded and probably still is sort of bare bonded pretty well on the front end of your Chad Bryant racing machine, and yet somehow you've been able to drive to the front. So what have you figured out between the early race incidents and now to get this car in good position?
Well, just a lot of effort from all the Chad Bryant racing guys. We've had certainly an eventful weekend. Had to change a motor this morning, and I kind of chased the car yesterday. Wasn't happy with our qualifying effort, obviously, and just snuck in the show. And once we kind of got some track position, we seemed to have a pretty good car. So, again, a huge thank you to Chad Bryant, a really good friend of mine. We don't get to race very often, but when we do, we certainly have a lot of fun. So we never make it easy on each other, but never lose that trust. And kept making the car better every time I hit the racetrack this weekend. And that's what it takes in these big races. So, yeah, we're marching through the front. I feel like we have a fringe top 5 car. So I hope we get back going, but if we don't, it was still a really good run to the front for us.
Ty Majeski with a fighting chance here coming to the final segment of this race.
Thanks, Pike. He started back in 39th spot. He's worked his way up to 8th. How about plus 31 for the reigning Truck Series champion, who will be back in his traditional vehicle about 1 week from tonight at the Charlotte Roval for the next Truck Series race. Less than a week from tonight is when that race will be held, not far from here, about 2 hours away at the Charlotte Motor Speedway for the two-time Snowball Derby champion and two-time South Carolina 400 winner in a late model stock car. Under our second red flag for inclement weather, Lee Pulliam, the leader. We'll come back and see if Mother Nature will let us see the finish of the ValleyStar Credit Union 300 right after this. Back at Martinsville Speedway for the ValleyStar Credit Union 300 and the final race of the Virginia Triple Crown presented by FloRacing under a red flag condition for rain with 25 laps still to go. The scheduled break that was supposed to happen around this time has not happened yet for the race teams, but the track drying equipment has been staged, and it appears that all efforts are going to be made to restart this race and allow all of the fans and viewers to be able to see this race unfold in an organic fashion with Lee Pulliam currently out in front. But it has been a wild one up to this point. This is our 12th caution. Only 2 for weather, 2 for debris, the rest for contact, and it started before the green flag.
Yeah, you can see a huge stack up on the outside line, and just behind Tate Fogelman is where it all falls apart. Mike Looney, Daniel Silvestri, Blake Stallings, 2 of those drivers not able to make a single lap in this one before their night was over.
Then the big one, turns 1 and 2. Donovan Strauss, Brandon Pierce make the initial contact. Huffman involved, Waddell involved, Majeski, who's driven back up into the top 10. Sweeping up about 8 or 9 cars in total, most of which were able to continue. And the most talked about accident of the day involving Tristan McKee and Sam Yarbrough on the middle of the front stretch, also taking out Bobby McCarty and causing some damage to Chase Burrow and Ty Majeski as well, and Stuart Cruz.
You almost forget looking back at that Ty Majeski's driven all the way back up to the front of the field despite being turned around and involved in a couple of those incidents. There you see Michael Bumgarner's number 97 after the issues that he had, pulling it in early. What a strong night that he had. Same could be said for the 01 at Camden Gully right now, sitting in the garage area. Trevor Ward's car is also back there. He's pulled it in as well.
There's Connor Jones, who suffered some rear end damage, unfortunately, and hopefully not a rear clip for that car, but it was a hard enough hit that it just might be. They're surveying what they're going to have to do to load it back up and bring it back home. And we saw that montage of some of the incidents here. This race started with 40 cars. Right now, unofficially, our team is showing 25 still in contention. While Lee Polium leads, there is another former winner of this race trying to add another grandfather clock to his trophy case. Chasing him, Jacqueline Drake is with our runner-up right now, Landon Pembleton.
That's right, Eric. Landon Pembleton won his grandfather clock here in 2020. And I don't know if you can put it in a trophy case, but it is his own thing. First off, Landon, where did you end up putting that clock? I have to know.
So it's actually sitting in the living room at the house. It's always a great reminder of something good that happened. So always humble and very humbling to be running second tonight. We've had a great car all weekend, so I just need a longer run. And Lee's really good on the short run. I feel like I'm a little better on the long run, but I think we got a shot at it if we can get a good long run.
What is that mind shift like when you are going for a second title, right? The first time it was such a shock. We all remember the emotions you had right there on the front stretch, but how different is it now chasing the second one?
You definitely want to get a second one, but you also don't want to destroy it while trying to do it either. So I'm just going to try and do my best and not tear nothing up. We can rub a little bit, and that's perfectly fine. I just don't want to tear anything up, and just kind of, I think the top five are really close. I think me and Lee are tit for tat. He's just a little better than me on the short run. If we can get a good 15, 20 lap stint here at the end, I think we'll be in a good shape.
What's an ideal restart look like for you if it's between the 0 and the 1? Do you race fair, or does it get a little bit contact?
Just got to be even going into 1, and then that's kind of everything happens from there. So Lee's done this a time or two before, so I've won a clock, so we got some hungry ones behind us at 1 o'clock as well. So if we can keep on getting after it and just not tear anything up.
That's the 0, Landon Pembleton, looking for his second clock, very calm. James Pike, who do you have?
Sometimes the battle here at the ValleyStar Credit Union 300 is about surviving and making it to the end. And Parker Eatman so far has done a pretty good job of that, currently running in the 9th position. Parker, what's this race been like from behind the wheel for you?
Chaos is like one word to describe it right now. We started 23rd, we got up to 17th. Got involved in the turn 1 accident, and then we're back up to 9th right now. So I'm just thankful for all of my Hettinger Racing guys. They got it prepared and re-prepared at the halfway break to get some fenders back on there so I could go out there and run. But we're sitting 9th right now with a pretty good car.
How's the car handling at this point? Is there anything that you're going to try and do a little bit differently in these last 25 laps?
Yeah, it started to get a little tight down in the center on me right there the last couple laps. So we're going to, use my tools in the car and get back after it. I just want to thank all my sponsors, Vet Adventures, Southern Bank, Big Rock, just everybody who puts this deal together. It's amazing to come out here and run top 10 in Martinsville.
It's a simple premise, Eric and Blake, but the fact remains that if you're in it right now, you have a chance, and Parker Eatman has got a shot at a grandfather clock.
Thanks, Mike. And you'd be exactly correct. As the old adage goes, you got to be in it to win it, but that applies quite literally when it comes to this race, as we see the Air Tundras back in motion along the front stretch here at Martinsville Speedway, and that's a really good sign. It did not take all that long to dry the track after the first shower moved through, and now the team is in motion. And we've said this a couple of times so far tonight, Blake. Hats off to everybody at Martinsville Speedway with NASCAR, with all of the accompanying tracks that were able to lend equipment, machinery, personnel, and whatever it takes to be prepared for a moment like this. It's unfortunate that it's plagued us at least twice tonight, but this all-hands-on-deck style of approach, adding some additional value to the meaning and significance of this race, it's being tested in a very, very big way tonight, and it shows that all the preparation is paying off for these drivers, race teams, and us race fans, too, that want to watch and see how this thing's going to play out.
Sure, Lee doesn't, though.
Well, I'm sure he wants to win it on track as well.
But at least as we look at it right now, I mean, this looks very similar to what we had kind of lingering around in about the 30, 40-minute delay that we had earlier or so. Just a little bit of a light mist that's hanging over the racetrack, but enough that it's light enough that these Air Tundras can definitely make a significant enough difference that hopefully we get to go back and see the last 25 laps of this race. And also to go back to that point that Landon Pembleton made a couple of minutes ago in his interview, how about he said, I want he thinks that Lee is great on the short runs. He thinks he has him beat on the long run. The longest possible run to end this race is 25 laps. So it's a tough situation knowing that, if we go green all the way to the end, it goes 25. I don't even know if we'll get that far, though.
And Landon said, humbling is the emotion when it comes to running well here. That's how much this race means. And it looks like we're going to see it to completion when we come back to Martinsville Speedway under a red flag for rain. Track drying efforts continue.
Welcome back to FloRacing right here at Martinsville Speedway for the ValleyStar Credit Union at 300. And I'm standing by with Jared Fryer, who's currently sitting in the third position on the board. We're under a bit of a rain delay, but the track dryers are out. And it looks like we're going to go back racing with just 25 laps to go. Jared, we spoke earlier today, and you said, I feel like this year I have the best shot I've ever had to bring home my own grandfather clock. What's going through your mind right now?
Hoping we get to go back race, and I got a pretty solid car, and felt like I'm better on the short runs, so this is going to play into my favor here with only 25 to go. Just got to fire off and get a good restart and stay with them guys. I'm sure they're going to mix it up. Just got to be there and take advantage of whatever I can and whatever mistakes they make, so we'll see.
You're sitting behind two veterans that already have their own clock. Do you feel that you're more hungry than them to get your first?
Oh, absolutely. Everybody wants the clock, and sitting behind them, two of the best here, I feel like it's definitely going to be hard. So, we're all hungry for a clock here. So hopefully we can make it happen if we go back green.
Why this year? You're with Jimmy Maureen Racing, partnered with AK Performance, but why this year? Is it the feeling of this is your best shot?
We just been good all year, and then we qualified good here for the first time and had solid car, and all season long we've had really good race pace, so it's carrying over so far. Just hopefully we get to go back green and can make the best of it here.
Tick-tock, is it time for Jared Fryer to take home his own Martinsville clock? Watch out for him.
Thanks, Jacqueline. And he seems quite poised and quite confident of his chances should this race get back underway. And it's looking more likely that that'll happen. But that's someone who seems to feel like he's got what he needs.
Well, and he echoed that same confidence. I got to talk to him before the Anderson race in the Cars Tour a couple of weeks ago. And he was just kind of reflecting on the year that it has been. And I think we've used the word appreciation a lot on this broadcast. And Jared is somebody who has been through down years in his racing career. You know, he said we won the championship in the Cars Tour several years back, and then we go out the next year and we can barely keep up, and we're struggling. And you know, he says he's been on both sides of that coin, and to be able to have a year like this where everything seems to click, you show up at the racetrack fast, you go out and execute, and obviously Jared Fryer is an incredibly talented race car driver. It's why prior to this race, I know we were kind of talking up here in the booth, and we were kind of, you know, making our race picks. I went with Jared Fryer. I thought that he was somebody that has had that speed throughout the 2025 season. It just seems that the stars are aligning for him, and hopefully in 25 laps for Jared Fryer, he'd love to be the first one up in this top 5 to try to get his first grandfather clock.
Well, I think the driver and team that has earned the Perseverance Award on the day so far goes to 2016 ValleyStar Credit Union 300 winner Mike Looney, after being involved in, I don't even want to say an opening lap crash. How about a pre-race crash? Well, Mike and team are still in it, and he's with Pike.
Mike Looney, you've gone through a lot tonight. There was the incident right out the drop of the green flag, and then we've seen so many racing incidents here, and a lot of drivers have called something, you know, chaotic. They've called things maybe a little bit aggressive. You've seen a lot. How much does your experience help you navigate these waters tonight?
Well, I don't know any experience can prepare you for riding around in all that carnage. I just want to thank God. I've been really blessed. You know, we had some bad luck and got tore up before we got to green flag, but I knocked the toe in 2 inches on that car and come in pitted once. We got it to 1 inch and it run pretty good. We pitted again, got it about a ½ inch, and it's actually better than half of them guys that just put on 4 stickers. So I just want to thank God for another opportunity, and I would have already parked this race car, but front clip's already bent, so we got nothing to lose really. So a strong possibility that this might be my last race at Martinsville, so I'm just gonna enjoy. I'm gonna try to finish. Gonna try to relish every lap and just savor the moment. And we got 4 sticker tires laying down there in the pits. We're gonna come get here in just a minute, so I'm gonna pass somebody before this night's over.
How much do you think the stickers are gonna end up helping you in the last 25?
It'll be pretty big if if we get a green flag run or they quit wrecking. But a wreck would be good. They're easy to pass when they're piled up down by pit wall. But I hope that doesn't happen. That's been enough wrecking tonight. I hate what happened to Trevor Ward. I think it would have been a heck of a race. But I'm also a Lee Pulliam fan, so I'm riding around the back playing and trying to watch the scoreboard at the same time. But like I say, just really blessed that God's put the people in my path all these years. I run my first race back in 2001 down here, and very few people have been able to string a career like that along, when you're not wealthy. So just very thankful.
You want to talk about somebody who has enjoyed every moment racing in a late model, and I think appreciates every opportunity he gets. Look no further than the driver of that 87 VA, Mike Looney, here in the mix after a very eventful start to his ValleyStar Credit Union 300.
And Blake, I can't help but draw a parallel to how Lee Pulliam felt last year, and he finished 13th in that race and came to the realization that I could have done a little bit of a better job. I hope Mike Looney could find the support and whatever it takes to come on back to Martinsville next year. Let's not forget, he finished runner-up in this race just 1 year ago, and I believe that he has the talent, the mental fortitude, and everything required that he would have drove up through the field tonight if he wasn't in the wrong place at the wrong time to start this race.
Well, he's finished, he finished second last year. He finished second in 2021. He ran top 5 again, finished 4th in 2022. So the success very recently in Mike Looney's career has been there, aside from just the win back in 2016. And one thing I'll say, whenever we come to the Commonwealth of Virginia, doesn't matter if it's a Cars Tour race, whether it's here at Martinsville, even when I was going down to the hot dog stand to get a hot dog earlier, there are always fans in Mike Looney T-shirts. That is the one thing that I've noticed whenever we come to the Commonwealth, even if he's not racing. I mean, several times when we've gone to tracks around this area, he's not even in the field, and you always see a lot of support with these fans up here who have loved watching him race. And like you said, he's going to put on a show. He's going to put on 4 stickers and see if he can't drive up. He's in 21st right now. They got the toe a little bit better on that race car, so who knows, 21st right now, and who knows where that could end up if we get back going.
And for Looney, he's probably hoping for a chance to get it back underway. And as you said, that 21st position is where he sits right now. Elite Pulliam still leading under the red flag conditions. Again, this red flag, the result of our 12th yellow, second for inclement weather. And as you see, track drying efforts continuing over on the top side of turns 1 and 2 with the Air Tundras. There's also some equipment working over on the back straightaway. And the game plan that they laid out seemed to work pretty effectively and quickly on the first rain delay. That went for just past a bit of the 1 hour mark for the last time. But it did rain a little bit harder and a little bit longer than what we had here this episode. So the hope is that drying efforts could be expedited should we not have any other inclement weather form over the racetrack between now and the point at which track drying would be complete. So again, tip of the cap to everybody who's been able to be on top of these ever-changing and unfolding scenarios. And Blake, the more thought that I put to this here, the race teams had an idea as to what the track is going to do here because we had to restart this race after a bit of a rain shower came through. Connor Hall mentioned he didn't think it would be as dramatic as what they experienced when they had the massive rain shower wash rubber off the track in the past. This one didn't stick around all that long, but the teams do have a chance to make adjustments one more time. That last break and adjustment period hasn't happened yet. Could this be the biggest challenge these crew chiefs have faced all year long with having to guess what kind of racetrack we're going to have for the sprint to the finish?
Again, that's what makes those crew chiefs down there the ones who are the breadwinners on their race team, because that is a very difficult decision. I mean, even you think of the difference between our top 2 runners right now and Landon Pimbleton and Lee Pulliam, both Landon seems to think that he has a better long run car, but Pulliam can make that adjustment and see what they can try to build here for this last 25 lap dash to the finish here, and just getting a good restart. Again, we went and saw after the last rain delay, again, a lot of the rubber was blown off the racetrack. It was picked up when they went back under yellow, but we saw a ton of cars go into turn 1 sliding up the track, lacking some grip as they went down to that end of the racetrack. And again, as we get later and later in this race, your brakes are fading, all of that is the cars are driving the worst they've done for the most part all night.
Well, a driver who's in his second ValleyStar Credit Union 300 in a row, 1 spot shy of a top 10 last year. Right now he's running in the top 10. Andrew Grady's with Jacqueline.
Yeah, Eric, we were just down here talking about how we're going to do a foot race, right? We're going to run?
If you see me running, you should run. There's something wrong.
No running. What if we determine the winner of the ValleyStar? The last 25, what if y'all ran those?
I'm in. Let's go right now. Start running.
You could make that?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so marathon, just no sprinting?
I wouldn't say marathon. 1 lap around here is a little different than a marathon, but I could do that for sure.
Well, Andrew, Eric was just talking about your stats, and you have quite literally worked your way up through the field, now in the top 10. How are you feeling about these last 25 laps and your chances?
I feel really good. We came in at the halfway break and made 1 tiny adjustment, but the only thing we really changed was 4 tires, and it gave me my race car back, and Torque Chassis brought me a great race car, and we're working forward. These 25 laps are going to be interesting. Everybody up front's got good cars, and we're going to get aggressive. A lot of rooting and gouging's been happening, so I'm kind of nervous for these last 25, but keep the fenders on it, and either way, I'm going to leave here with my held head. It's going to be a good night.
I talked to some of the drivers after our first rain delay, and they said going back into it, it was definitely a different energy between the drivers. Is that what you're alluding to on just the aggression level that we'll have in this restart?
For sure. It's anytime you stop and get time to think about it, it gets in your head. So these boys are going to be more aggressive, I think, and we got 25 to go. 25 to go at Martinsville is usually not good. So we'll see how it plays out, but huge thanks to Gildan, ABC Hosiery, my family, Torque Chassis, Brian Shock Technologies, Clark Automotive, and Simpson Race Car Products. Appreciate all my guys, everything.
Just have to ask, there's time to talk to some of the other drivers. Is there strategy? And have you talked to anybody to team up?
I've talked to Lee, and that was it. I respect Lee. Lee's one of the best to ever do it, and if I don't win it, I really hope Lee Pulliam gets it done tonight. So as long as a one car wins it, I'll be happy.
Thanks for talking. Andrew Grady, good luck to him.
Blake, we could always trust an honest assessment out of Andrew Grady, and he echoed what you said earlier, the mutual respect throughout the entire pit area across what is a convergence of late model stock car talent. Andrew Grady echoing his sentiments and appreciation for the driver who's currently top of the pylon.
Again, how many times do you hear from other drivers, I'm a Lee Pulliam fan? They may have grown up watching him race. Andrew Grady, the second-generation racer. His father, Tony Grady, was a lifer in the late model stock cars, grew up running at Wake County Speedway and Southern National Motorsports Park, where he was track champion in 2018, and doing a solid job right here. Like you said, just persevering, staying in the top 10. We've had a lot of those tonight. How about Cody Kelly, too? Give a tip of the cap to him for what he's been able to do, staying up in the top 5 essentially all night long. He's faced a couple of battles here and there throughout. They've made really smart decisions on these restarts. When they've been able to jump to the outside, they've been able to hold their track position. And Cody Kelly has just done a tremendous, tremendous job here tonight.
Well, as you see, the track drying equipment starting to work their way through turns 3 and 4 and back onto the front stretch. We've been given some directive as to how we could expect the remainder of this race to form up with that break still looming. So the idea is when the go-ahead is given to the drivers, they're going to strap into their cars. They'll pull out on the racetrack and do one lap. Then the pit lane will be opened and all cars will funnel their way down to the pit lane. Drivers who elect to stop for service under this last chance during this race break formation will be allowed to pull up to their respective pit stalls. Those who are going to forego the chance to work on their cars have been instructed to pull to the outer side of the pit lane. So that's what we could expect to see once drivers are told to strap back into their cars and fire back up. And we talked about our chief starter, Brandon Willard. There's his father, Danny, watching the track drying efforts unfold as well. Everyone has been so diligent with making sure that we don't jump the gun too early and make sure this track is, in fact, race ready. And again, officials have already outlined and passed along the procedures to the competitors. That way, once the track is good to go, we get right back at it.
And this is going to be really difficult to decipher for these teams. So the procedure is everybody's gonna go around, do a lap, and come back down pit road. Everybody's going to be pacing, and they're all going to enter at once. And usually, if you're a team, if you're a spotter, it's pretty easy if you are electing not to pit at this 25-lap break, because, again, it's not required of any team that's out here. It'd be pretty easy. Okay, you can see in order how everybody chooses to come down and service their car. You don't really have that option here, because everybody's going to pit. So being able to keep track, if you're kind of in that middle pack area, you're around that 10th place and you're kind of considering whether to pit or not, it's going to be a lot harder to gauge just exactly how many drivers are actually going to take service. And because of that, they're going to come out behind the cars that don't. So that's going to be a difficult decision, or I think makes the decision a lot harder if you're somebody like an Andrew Grady that's running around the 10th position or so. There's 25 cars in the lead lap, but around that 10th, 12th place area, it's going to be a tough decision.
Drivers have been called back to their cars, so we are going to give it a shot to round out the ValleyStar Credit Union 300. 25 laps to go. The final break and resumption of the race right after this. Lee Pulliam, the current race leader in the ValleyStar Credit Union 300, climbing back into his race car with a couple of last-minute messages from his team members and family, hoping that he could find a way to hang on for the final stretch run for what would be his third win in this historic race. Landon Pembleton also strapping back into his race car, as is the rest of the field, as the go-ahead has been given by officials for us to move closer to restarting the most prestigious late model stock car race of the year. Once again, hello everyone. Eric Brennan alongside of Blake McCandless, Jacqueline Drake, and James Pike have been handling all of the action down trackside in what has been a very eventful ValleyStar Credit Union 300. This is our 12th caution, second for rain, second red flag for rain. But track drying efforts are just about wrapped up, and we're about to inch closer to not only the resumption of this race, but the last 5-minute race break opportunity for race teams to work on their cars should they choose so. And those directives have been handed out by the officials to the race teams, and perhaps the ultimate decision lies ahead for all competitors, especially considering that the racetrack has undergone yet another dramatic shift with the rain coming through and requiring track drying efforts.
And again, there's a lot of decisions to make here. We kind of covered it just before we went to the break. 25 cars on the lead lap. So I would say with the fact that there's only 25 that are still running, you have a little more freedom if you are at the tail end or you are in the back half of this field. If you want to come down and get service or try to change tires, do whatever that's available to you, if you have that opportunity, you can do it. And kind of opens up, I think, the strategy book a little bit here for some cars that are further back in the field. As you can see, Lee Pulliam's team and the LPP crew continuing to clean some of the moisture off of his race car.
To get more from the Lee Pulliam pit area, let's go back down to Jacqueline.
We are standing by with Lee Pulliam's #1 fan, partner, and supporter. This is Leanne Pulliam, his wife. And I have to know, you've been able to watch Lee throughout his career. What's the emotions you're feeling right now as he goes to chase his third clock?
I'm honestly not nervous at all. I feel like he has nothing to prove. I've watched him do a lot in his career, and I just feel like tonight is just icing on the cake.
When he told you that he wanted to get back in the car and this was coming to fruition, what was your initial thoughts? Were you just excited, or did you have any other feelings?
I'm always excited for him to drive. I feel like that's his God-given talent, is behind the wheel of a race car. I wish he could do it for a living instead of working on them, even though I know he loves that too. But I'm always very excited for him to drive. I'm never nervous, and I just know he's doing what he loves, so that makes me happy.
Very cool. Well, we're going to see if he can get it done. 25 laps up ahead to close out this 200-lap feature event. Race fans, hold on. It's going to be a good one.
I've always been impressed by the poise and determination of race car drivers, but I think I'm more impressed by the poise of significant others who have to watch their loved ones get. We just heard Andrew Grady say there's going to be a lot of rooting and gouging. It's going to be crazy. That's the most calm interview we've had all night.
I know, right? And again, a lot of times when you're out of the race car, it's worse. When you're rooting for somebody that's in it, or you have a vested interest in the person that's behind the wheel of that race car, it makes you more nervous to be outside, to be watching it. But just a great perspective there to be able to see what this means to the Pulliam family. And just, again, we've said the word appreciation so much throughout the course of the night. And I think that's an embodiment that it's not just Lee, it's everybody a part of that family and what they have here tonight.
Now, one of the more dominant cars at the first half of this race, Trevor Ward, before a black flag for jumping a restart. For more on that story, we'll go to James Pike.
Trevor Ward had a very fast car in the first part of this race. But, Trevor, what I ask, what's your perspective on the restart and the penalty there?
Leader was supposed to start the race, and, I unfortunately, jumped the start. I've been working with Carson for a little while there, and I was kind of giving him tips of where I was going to start the race so he could get a hole to get in. And just a little frustrated. He decided to lay back, but, it's all right. We'll probably talk about it and get over with it. Real simple. But I just hate it for my sponsors, Mr. Harrison, Harrison Workwear, Mike Blitzo Mechanical, Jim from Digital Repair, Pro System, Clark's Automotive, Sterling Building Group, Clark's Automotive, LP Gear, just the whole organization. We worked really hard for this event and put a lot of time in it. We're trying to build this small team into something a lot greater, and showed a lot of speed today. But unfortunate, I hate it for all my sponsors, all the guys, and we'll take that wound and we'll heal on it and get better.
since your win in 23, your car has been one of the fastest on the property every September when we come here. It might not be the win, but do you take some sort of satisfaction knowing that you've got your program in a place where every time we show up here, you've got one of the fastest cars?
Oh, no, absolutely. Just a lot of sleepless nights that goes into that, and, a lot of hard work, a lot of dedication. Trevor Ward Motorsports guys that we put together has been super dedicated to the schedule and all the racing that's been going on, and we was able to pull off a season this year at South Boston, and thank them guys a lot. But all in all, I got to thank the good Lord for putting me in this position and letting me believe in myself. So all in all, I got to thank all the guys involved with this deal, and I hate it for the fans that was pulling for us, and thank you all. Well, we'll be back better than ever.
Had a really fast car all season long at South Boston Speedway. Had a fast car here at Martinsville as well.
Blake, you talked about the working relationship between Trevor and Carson Lofton. That was the front row when the restart violation occurred. And, Trevor making it quite clear he's enjoyed working with Carson, no hard feelings. And we've seen it before, even in cup races here. Sometimes there's an orchestrated effort across the top two to get the car on the outside down to the bottom on the approach to turn one. It sounds like Trevor was under the impression that was the game plan. Carson didn't go when he thought he would, and that made Trevor the obvious offender on that restart, and it took away his chance for a second grandfather clock. But what a gracious interview for someone who, I think if we were to go back and look at lap times, had by far and away the best car at the time for at least the first half of this race and up until that penalty was levied.
Well, again, a great perspective there, because how many times do we see race car drivers that maybe they feel or they know they have the fastest car and they're not able to win, how disappointing it can be. But still to bring home his car in one piece, and like he said, the group that he's assembled this year, the accomplishments they've been able to have throughout the 2025 season, what they're able to do at South Boston Speedway, and the other big races that he's been able to win over the course of his career. It's been fun to watch, and again, Trevor Ward, a big mentor, not just for Carson, but a lot of drivers throughout the late model stock car pit area, with all he's been able to do to turn the wrenches outside of the car, one of the best in the business to do it, and has grown a significant fan base for being the type of person that he is. And again, a lot good to reflect on, and again, he's able to load that car up in the trailer and it's in one piece, so there is something to say about that.
And how about this site? Track drying equipment, including the air tundras, making their way back to the staging area, which means we are just about set to wrap up the second red flag for inclement weather that we've had on the night so far. And we are going to settle the ValleyStar Credit Union 300 the old-fashioned way, clean and green to the finish, we hope, with the 5-minute break still on the horizon for the race car drivers and teams left to try to contest these final 25 circuits.
They're called to the race cars just about 10 minutes ago to the dot, so very close to sending these cars off. Again, they'll make a pace lap or perhaps two around, allow everybody to catch up to the field, and then they're going to bring them all back down in the pit area, and then you're going to see a distinction between cars that stay in the lane where you would continue exiting pit road and those that pull to their pit stall. The ones who pull to their pit stall will receive service. They'll also restart behind all of the cars that elect to stay out. And again, doing this procedure so that they can do just the last-minute cleanup or blowing off that they want to do on the front straightaway and in 1 and 2, because when you have cars pacing around, you can't have the air tundras out there doing their work. So curious to see what the decisions are here amongst many of your top runners. I think most of the cars in the back, of course, they're going to take the opportunity to make some adjustments because they're back there and they're not driving as well as you would imagine. So the strategy here, this is where it comes into play. Again, we used to throw this caution with 10 to go in this race, and there was a lot of strategy involved with that, but now with 25, it's still the same.
Now, a change in procedure from what we passed along earlier, and it's for very good reason. Now officials have decided that if you're going to elect to stop, you could just simply come down the pit lane to your pit stall. If you're going to stay out, you could stay out on the racetrack. They feel the track is dry enough that they could leave the cars on track as they would under a conventional circumstance. So that's even more great news to indicate as the red flag is lifted. And Brandon Willard is showing the yellow silk once more, closing out our second stoppage for rain. And the field will now head back out onto this half-mile oval Drawing closer to the conclusion of this event with Lee Pulliam going to be the first to have to make the decision as to what they want to do with the pits being open this time by. And not even a flinch to the pit lane for our front runners at this time.
Yeah, you see the green flag waving. Jake Crumb's going to be the first one to pit. He's in 6th. Nobody else follows him. And as we continue to watch, he's the only one right now. Dylan Harville looks like he might, but is going to stay out on the track as well. So just Jake Crum, huh?
And I'm not quite sure that they were in fact ready for it. So Crum's team having to scramble a little bit for the driver who was running in 6th at the time. And they're looking underneath the back end of that race car.
You can see the green flag was being waved, so the pit road was open, but I think you're right. I don't know if they anticipated leaving pit road, having half a lap, and then having to decide whether they'd come back down. A couple more have joined him. Mike Looney, as we caught up with prior to the break, said that he was going to come down and put 4 stickers on it. Caden Quapple in the 8. Chase Burrow in the 00, who's had that damage since trying to avoid that wreck on the front straightaway. But yeah, it looks like amongst your pretty much amongst your front runners, the only driver in the top, I would say 15 that pit there was Jake Crum in the 12.
So it seems like that for most of the front runners, pretty much that whole front end of the pack, they've got what they've got from this point to the end.
Although now we're back under red.
Yeah, and it looks like that there is a jug of fluid there on the back side of this car, so evidently there is something mechanical amiss with one of the former winners of the ValleyStar Credit Union 300, and I believe this is the stoppage for the 5-minute break for the cars that have elected to come down. The thumbs up has just been given to the team, so now the Crum team is going to be able to go to work, as is Mike Looney, as is Caden Quapple. And I think the only other car out there is Chase Burrow, who's also on the pit lane. He, too, sustained some damage. And there's those sticker tires that Mike Looney was telling us about. Looks like they're going to slap those on and see what he's got. So the bulletin that went out to the officials in terms of what they are allowed to do under this break, it'll either be air pressure, driver comfort, clean windows, and for Looney and company, they evidently sat on these tires up to this point in the race to have them for the end.
It looks like Chase Burrow taking the same opportunity here in his pit stall. But again, I think as far as these late race breaks, this is probably the least amount of cars we've seen pit at this juncture of a race here in the ValleyStar Credit Union 300.
So our second red flag, 47 minutes in length, getting set to wrap up our 12th caution of this race as we inch closer to the resumption and conclusion of the 2025 ValleyStar Credit Union 300. Come on back for the finish right after this. Now as we burn a couple of caution laps and come to the shoes and want to go this time, it's going to be a 22-lap at maximum run to the finish, with Landon electing the top side on Pulliam. Fryer will be inside of row number 2, and Cody Kelly was lined up in 4th at the time of the yellow. He picks 4th for the restart.
And we're at this point in the race where whether it's Jared Fryer or Cody Kelly, Ty Majeski, a couple of times where these drivers have been put in 3-wide situations throughout this race and they've backed out of it, they've thought better of it. I think we're starting to run into that point of the race, that time is over, that some of those breaks that you've been cutting throughout the course of the night that we've seen up at the front of this field, I think those times are gone.
Well, for all of you sticking with us on FloRacing and the NASCAR channel, I think we're all about to see another spectacular ending to the late model stock classic known as the ValleyStar Credit Union 300 at Martinsville. Lee Pulliam, Landon Pembleton bringing us back to the restart zone. 22 laps to go. Already banging doors on the approach to turn 1 for the lead. Pulliam got a good launch off the corner. They bounce again off one another on the back straightaway.
Pembleton was perhaps just a nose in front as Pulliam trying to escape with the race lead. Pembleton going to stick on his right rear as they come across the start-finish line. Fryer able to get back down to the bottom. Kelly trying to do the same to shut the door on Connor Hall out of turn 2, and he's able to do so in the 16.
And a nudge from Pembleton to Pulliam for the race lead. Now it's Landon Pembleton to the bottom side for the top spot. Pulliam trapped up top. Pembleton back to the point, but Pulliam fights back on the outside.
And there's Jared Fryer. That's exactly what he needed. These two battling it out side by side to give him a chance. He thinks he's got a shot at it. Pulliam's got to get down clear. Contact made as Pulliam tried to get back down to the bottom. Fryer is there as they go into 3 and 4. They touch once again off the corner, but Pulliam allowing Landon Pembleton to escape as the two come together for second.
And that gave Fryer a terrible angle getting into turn 3, and he somehow survived the corner. Pembleton trying to break free. Pulliam and Fryer bounce off each other again on the backstretch, with Coney Kelly peeking to the low side.
And Landon Pembleton continuing to love what he's seeing in his rear view mirror. Fryer has to protect after he got a little bit loose off of 4 as Kelly tried to make the move, not able to do so. But all of that battling between Pulliam and Fryer allows Pembleton a little bit of insurance. 6 or 7 car lengths as the Triple Crown points leader, now getting passed by Parker Eatman and Doug Barnes Jr. looking to do the same.
And all the while, Ty Majeski has gotten up into the top 5. Here's Doug Barnes Jr. trying to get up into the top 10 for one of the first times tonight. Gets past Connor Hall. Cade Brown trying to size up Hall, who's losing spots in what could be a pivotal battle for that Triple Crown title.
And again, Carson Lofton would be the driver he's battling right now. He's in 6. So it's starting to get closer as the caution flag is back out. Car slow in turn 4. It's the 7C of Corey Pack who looked to be off the pace.
And I believe Matt Waltz, our Hampton Heat winner as well in 2025, also swept up in that incident to draw the 13th yellow flag of the night. Eight lead changes, 13 caution flags, and Landon Pembleton, the new pace setter, with 15 laps to go.
See Corey Pack able to gather it back up. Has a lot of dirt experience running in karts and full-fendered cars on the dirts at 311 Motor Speedway. He's been running a lot of limited late model competition at several tracks, including Ace Speedway over the last couple of years. And looking to garner some experience here in the late model stocks, and put up a great qualifying lap yesterday, going out early, able to maintain enough to qualify into the race through his qualifying race, and sure very happy to be in the field here tonight. But Matt Waltz locked into this race, unfortunately has not had the pace that we saw out of that car, which again could very well be battling for the Virginia Triple Crown when all was said and done. Again, originally crossed the line in second back at South Boston Speedway a couple of months ago. The car did not pass post-race inspection there, then went on to win the Hampton Heat. So without that, would be right in the mix to try to contend for this Triple Crown.
And with Connor Hall falling outside of the top 10 unofficially as things run right now, he would still sew up the Virginia Triple Crown over Carson Lofton. He's still got a good bit of a buffer there with Hall running in 11th, Carson running in 6th. But still, this restart's going to come with perhaps a little bit more than 10 laps to go. a lot could still unfold, especially at the front of the field. Landon Pembleton didn't necessarily perfect the restart per se, but got down in line well enough on the approach to turn 1 to be able to open the door on the bottom, and he will be in possession of this race, perhaps when it matters most, for one of the late charging restarts that we're about to see. And now the question becomes, does Pulliam want the shot on the outside, or does he want to follow Landon down into the corner and maybe give Fryer a chance to jump up to that front row? I feel like all day, Blake, we've seen anybody who was in that second spot, they want to be on the front row.
Yeah, and I think that's the decision that you go with there, and you hope to replicate what Landon Pembleton was able to do on that last restart. Maintain for about a lap or so, cross down at the perfect time. A little bit of contact made between those two, but executed that restart very, very well. But from what we've seen out of these front three, it's so hard to find separation. I know we talked about Pembleton thought his car was better on the long run, but it appears he has a pretty good short run car too. And just with how important track position has been, how even we've seen these top three, that's why these restarts are so important. And I think Lee needed it with just even the separation he got battling Jared Fryer as long as he did. Was Pembleton going to be able to hang on? I think there's a good chance he would have. So this is what it's going to come down to. We heard from Carson Kvapil, who won this race a year ago, earlier this week in a piece he did with us here at NASCAR Regional, and they were talking about the keys to the race. The last key that he said was restarts and being able to execute. It's how he got a grandfather clock a year ago, and that is how this race here tonight is going to be settled, is here in the restart zone.
Spotters on the ready on the approach to turn 1, protecting the bottom lane, is going to ramp up to a degree we have not seen it so far all night long. Landon Pembleton in the 0, Lee Pulliam in the 1, Jared Fryer 14, Cody Kelly 16, and Ty Majeski from 39th to 5th, getting set to settle the ValleyStar Credit Union 300. 11 laps to go.
Clean restart. Here comes Ty Majeski. Thought about 3 wide there for just a moment, but Lee Pulliam trying to keep pace with Pembleton off at 2. Can he build up the momentum to make a move down here into turn number 3?
Took a wide arc in the approach to the corner. Here comes Lee. Up to the back bumper. Pulliam to the inside. He and Pembleton touch. Pulliam back to the point with Fryer trying to follow him through in turn 1.
Pulliam back up to the top spot and clear, but now Pembleton, he's going to have the exact same position on Lee Pulliam going down to 3 this time, but he has to deal with Fryer, who gives him a little bit of a nudge into the corner. Pulliam trying to drive away as they come around. 10 laps to go on the ValleyStar Credit Union 300.
Mike Looney got bounced around in the back of the pack. He keeps it straight. We stay under green. Pulliam out in front. Now Cody Kelly gets shoved aside there. That was Landon S. Huffman who made contact with the 16. Is now Parker Eatman looks down low.
Where did Landon S. Huffman come from? Shot out of a cannon. And how about Andrew Grady running up in the top 5 as well?
Grady trying to follow Majeski through the Virginia Triple Crown combatants in Hall and Lofton door to door. But Hall has got some breathing room in that battle as we crunch the numbers. It'll be 7 to go when we come back around.
Side by side throughout the field, the patience is wearing thin. There you see the lead for the Triple Crown, but right now it is well behind where both of these drivers would love to be running on the racetrack just to keep up into the top 10. Right now for Connor Hall in the 88 and Carson Lofton in the 22. First side-by-side battle that's on the racetrack right now is between these two. But coming around this time, Lee Pulliam is 6 laps away from a third ValleyStar Credit Union 300 victory.
He's got some breathing room over Landon Pembleton after being able to take the lead back in a similar fashion in which he lost it on the prior restart. Pulliam to the line, 5 to go. Connor Hall trying to sew up the Virginia Triple Crown, right side of your frame.
And Pulliam, the fastest car on the racetrack, that last lap out. Pembleton is giving it everything he can right now, sending it as deep into the corner as he possibly can. But Pulliam, smooth and steady, driving away, 4 to go.
Hall now working over the backside of Doug Barnes Jr. What's going to be a battle for 9th spot. Great rebound effort for Doug Barnes. And for Lee Pulliam performance and trying to get 2 cars in the top 10 in the most difficult late model stock race of the year. Barnes protecting the bottom side. I think right now, Pulliam is hoping this race stays green for the final 3 laps. Physical fights all around, but so far he's clear out in front by about a little over a half second.
This is all happening about 10 car lengths behind Cody Kelly as Hall, a big slide off of turn 2, still looking to try to get back that 9th position.
Oh, trouble back straightaway. Brandon Pierce is around, and somehow Riley Gentry was able to avoid. Caught that one out of the corner of my eye as Pierce got kicked sideways off of turn 2. Looks like he was heading for a disastrous shot to the inside wall. Got the car to spin back driver's right. And everybody was able to avoid him as he slid back up towards the racing line.
And the driver that used to drive for Lee Pulliam Performance gets turned around at a very awkward position. Again, this is the entry to turn 3. So a very curious position for Brandon Pierce, who was looking to end up with a top 15 effort here tonight. Has had quite a triple crown, and I think he's going to... I think there's the culprit right there. The 33 of Dylan Harville is the one he made contact with. That would have been a battle for 14th.
You can see those two continuing to express some displeasure with one another. Second time tonight that Pierce has had a little bit of an issue, which has resulted, I don't know if he necessarily had a chance to talk to Donovan Strauss earlier, but he certainly made his points known, and he's making his point known here to Dylan Harville as well. And he will fall to the tail end of the pack, and it will size up what will be our first of what could be unlimited attempts at a green-white checker finish to close out the ValleyStar Credit Union 300. This time around, we will be coming around to complete what would be the advertised distance of this race, with Lee Pulliam and Landon Pembleton still the top 2, and these two have traded the lead on the last 2 restarts, with Jared Fryer lurking and Ty Majeski trying to come from the back row to win his first grandfather clock at Martinsville, running in 4th.
Incredible to see what Ty Majeski has been able to pull off in this race. Multiple incidents that he's been involved in throughout the course of the night. He's running up in 4th. How about Andrew Grady? When we talked to him earlier, just prior to that break, he was running back in 10th. Here he is running up in 5th. And Landon Shane Huffman, driver of the number 28 car for Pinnacle Racing Group, started intending to run a full-time Cars Tour slate through the 2025 season. Abandoned those efforts about midway through the year, but what a recovery this has been for Landon S. Huffman, who I think needed a little bit of a run like this to get himself going in these late model stock cars. They've been working hard at the PRG group all year long to try to turn this around, and what an effort to be up here in the top, nearly in the top 5 here to end this one at Martinsville.
And as things stand right now, Connor Hall rides in 10th spot, and again, that would be much well enough to wrap up the Virginia Triple Crown in 2025. That puts his average finish at about 4.3. We actually have a tie right now for second amongst Cade Brown and Parker Eatman as things stand, as we have the one to go and choose this time. And Pulliam is going to elect the inside, Landon Pembleton the outside, and what is going to be our first attempt to wrap up this race in overtime.
In the last restart amongst these two, it got physical. There was contact made, Pulliam and Pembleton. We've heard plenty of times throughout the week, what would you do to try to win the ValleyStar Credit Union 300? It all comes down to what may be the first of unlimited green-white checkered attempts. Lee Pulliam looking for a 3rd. Pembleton looking for his 2nd, and Jared Fryer and Ty Majeski looking for their 1st.
How about a drag race to turn 1? Majeski doesn't get going. Everybody starts to pile up behind him. Harville's got major damage. Race stays green, and Pulliam has got the lead off 2.
Going down to the 3 this time. This is where you're going to have to set up a race-winning move. Into the back of Lee Pulliam. Here comes Pembleton to the inside. Side by side. White flag is out. 1 lap to go here in Martinsville. Pembleton looking for the race lead down into turn number 1.
Pulliam Pulliam trying to square him back up, but I don't know he's going to have the room. Off of turn number 2, Pembleton the leader. Last chance for Pulliam. Here he comes to the back bumper. Shoves him wide. Here they come to the checkered flag. Landon Pembleton by inches wins his second ValleyStar Credit Union 300. Wow!
24 one-thousandths of a second. What a race.
2 rain delays, 14 cautions, an overtime finish, and an absolute thriller. Landon Pembleton in one of the closest margins of victory you will find in this style of racing. Fends off one of the best to ever do it and wins for the second time at Martinsville.
And that is a thumbs up there from Lee Pulliam. That is a sign of respect from him. As Landon Pembleton, you can see the excitement for him. What an effort, and what a happy RNS race car bunch.
Told us during the rain delay he didn't think he had that good of a short run car. I don't know that you could have much of a shorter run to the finish than a 2-lap shootout in a green-white checker. He withstood the contact from Pulliam, which that was how they were racing the last 3 restarts. It was a little bit of fair push and shove that was going on. Nothing egregious, nothing that got out of hand. And as you said, Blake, an unbelievable margin of victory amongst those 2 at the finish line. And well worth the wait by all involved to get this race to its conclusion. And Landon Pembleton is pumped. We saw a lot of excitement out of this young man when his family-owned and operated team went to victory lane in this race back in 2021. He started 8th and led 42 laps en route to that victory. And you can tell it means a lot to not only win in that fashion, win here on this night, but also to beat someone that he has a lot of respect and admiration for to the line. And the celebration is already ongoing with Landon and company.
See Marcus Richmond arriving on the scene. What a team that was able to put this effort together. And we heard it throughout the week. What would you do to try to win a 300? And Lee Pulliam, he said exactly what he did. A little bit of contact, but you don't want to wreck anybody, and that's exactly how those 2 raced it out there to the very bitter end. A valiant effort, but coming up just short, as this is the last lap in its entirety. Pulliam led it on the outside with 1 to go.
And then I thought right here Lee was going to have a hard time getting that shot, but he got a great drive on the outside off of turn 2. Pembleton decided to protect the bottom lane the whole way down the backstretch. That was the right move. Here's Pulliam with the nudge. He gets down to the inside, but just couldn't get the drive off. And Pembleton fends him off by about the bodywork of the nose to win it. And look at this. Lee is the first one of the other competitors to come on over and congratulate Landon on the win. And that's quite the smile for someone who came up just shy of winning this race for the 3rd time.
That's how you do it right there. Shook a hand with Marcus Richmond. Again, 2 competing owners that see each other on a near bi-weekly basis in the Cars Tour. And Pembleton, so much elation as he jumped out of the car. Was wondering if he was going to take a moment to just ride around the track and soak this one in, but going to have to turn his car back around to get another grandfather clock.
And we get a quick glimpse here at Connor Hall, and judging by our math, by virtue of the 11th place finish here tonight, that would give him an average finish of about 4.6 across the Virginia Triple Crown. And Connor Hall is your 2025 Virginia Triple Crown champion, presented by FloRacing. Maybe not the result that he was hoping for in terms of this particular race, but Connor Hall is walking out of here with momentum on his side and a Triple Crown title. Jared Fryer comes over to offer congratulations to Landon Pembleton, who's going to climb from the car for the second time a winner at Martinsville, down to Victory Lane in Jacqueline.
Out of the car he comes. Landon, take a look, because now you're going to have two of these sitting in your house. Mini Tyrell comes over and gives him a congratulations. Landon, you had everybody up on their feet. All of these race fans had their hands clapping and cheering. A drag race between you and Lee Pulliam. Our nails, we were biting them. What was going through your mind, and how were you able to capitalize?
Well, first off, I just want to say to everybody watching, that's how you're supposed to race a late model stock. I just beat the GOAT, man, and it's good to go toe-to-toe with him. I'll be honest with you, I've learned most of my stuff from Peyton, another rival, Lee, and Phillip as well. Phillip really taught me how to get around this place. So this is honestly electric, man. It's unbelievable. I could soak this one in a little bit better than the first one.
I was just about to ask, how differently is it for you knowing that this is a second win for you? Are you able to realize and truly soak in the fact that you are now a two-time ValleyStar Credit and Win-Year champion?
That's joining, definitely. If you win two, that's joining a list of elite drivers right there. Phillip, it's a long list of them. Lee, I know Lee wanted that one bad, but I mean, I knew yesterday me and him were probably the best two cars, and it was going to come down to us. So I can't thank everyone, man. RNS Race Cars, Marcus Richmond, he had me dialed in, man, and I'm really looking forward to celebrating this one.
Right behind him, you can see the RNS Race Cars team celebrating. Landon Pembleton is going to be your 2025 ValleyStar Credit Union race winner tonight at Martinsville Speedway.
Trevor Ward over to congratulate you. Talk about the elite list that he is a part of now. Curtis Markham, Lee Pulliam, Tommy Lemons Jr., Phil Warren, Tony McGuire, Barry Beggerly, Timothy Peters, and of course Philip Morris, the only drivers up to this point who had won multiple ValleyStar Credit Union 300s until tonight. Landon Pembleton joins that list.
And we talk about the meaning of this race and what in fact it means to many drivers who are from this region. And you know, Landon is himself a Virginia born and bred race car driver, and you could tell that the historical context of this race goes such a long way. And he's going to be presented a grandfather clock for the second time. We're going to throw it down trackside to Martinsville President Clay Campbell and company as they will present that trophy to Landon Pembleton for the second time in his career.
Landon, winner of the ValleyStar Credit Union 300. Congratulations on behalf of all the fans up here, all the folks at Martinsville Speedway, ValleyStar. What a run. Tell us about it.
Honestly, it's unbelievable to come here and beat the GOAT, man. Like I consider him, Peyton, and Phillip the three that kind of set late model stock on fire. And learning from all three of them, being with Lee last year, I wish it would have been like that last year, but circumstances changed. And man, we had a hot rod tonight. Had a hot rod from the beginning, was able to work up, and really looking forward to celebrating this one.
Awesome. Well, I know you've got one grandfather clock. What are you going to do with this one?
Hopefully I'm going to take that one with me.
All right. Congratulations again. And now I'd like to turn it over to CEO of ValleyStar Credit Union, Mike Warren. Mike?
Landon, congratulations. I think it was 2021, my first year here. I shook your hand. I'm going to do it again. Great racing, young man. Awesome to see you again. Congratulations. Thank you all for coming. We really appreciate it. Look forward to next year being better, bigger, and even more people here. So thank you. Thank you, Clay, and thank you to the track.
Thank you, fans, for sticking it out tonight. We appreciate you. Thank you.
Second time that Landon's been fortunate enough to embrace in a celebration in this magnitude, with the fireworks going off in the background. All the supporters who make this race possible, from the presenting sponsor and ValleyStar and the racetrack with Clay Campbell and more. Landon Pembleton is a two-time ValleyStar Credit Union 300 champion. Now, the driver on the other side of that thrilling battle, who is vying for his third trophy of such a kind, Lee Pulliam, is with Pike.
Lee Pulliam, we saw you go over and chat with Landon Pemberton in Victory Lane. What was said between you two?
Just congratulating him. It was a heck of a race. Stings, I mean, we had such a good race car, and not to come to the white and we get a caution, it's just sickening. But I'm just so thankful, man. I had such a fun week this week, and I hope I made everybody proud, and I gave everything I had, so I didn't leave nothing on the table. That one hurts just because we were so good, and to race 3 times in the last 6 years and come and do what we did tonight is. I hope it's a cup owners out there scratching their head, wondering how I got through the cracks, and not picked up. But it was a lot of fun.
So many emotions going through you right now. Which one's the most prevalent of them all that you're feeling?
I don't know. I mean, I just take a while to process it, but I am so thankful because, I love this. This is what I wanted to do for a living. I wanted to drive race cars. I wanted to win cup championships. I wanted to be the best there ever was, and I put my heart and soul in it every time I strap into a race car. And it's special to have to respect all the competitors up and down this pit road. And you might pull for me, you might not, but I think you can all respect what we do. So it was a lot of fun. I mean, racing with Landon, he is a great kid and a great family, and I would have tried to move him the same way he did me, and I tried to get him back. And like I said in my interview earlier, I wasn't gonna wreck anybody, but I'd knock him up a hill, and that's just trying to win a clock. It's just the part that's tough was leading by 8 car lengths and about to come to the white, and the caution comes out. That was when I knew things were going to get rough, and just didn't quite have enough. But Jared Fryer, I mean, guy's phenomenal race car driver. Kelly Boy, all of them. I had a lot of fun tonight, and it's a lot of talented race car drivers coming up.
Do you do anything differently looking back at it, or no regrets?
I don't know how I could have did anything different. I mean, it's just hard racing. I mean, if I hit him any harder, he goes around down here, and didn't want to do that. So felt like I gave him everything I could. When I tried to get in the gas off of 4, just from where I had to wait at his car on the nose, my car wouldn't take off. It just kind of spun the tires for just a second. Tried to rub doors with him down the front stretch and just knock some of his momentum off, but just wasn't enough. But man, it's that's that feeling that the feeling of competing, the feeling of knowing that I'm good enough to win these races still after sitting outside a race car for so long. That's a great feeling. So while I'll be sick, I'll take a lot of this and show my little girl. She's 9 years old. She's up in the stands watching me, and just tell her, anything's possible. You just never give up. And when people say you can't do something, just show them you can.
Hard to doubt Lee Pulliam's love for this as we turn our attention to P3 in the ValleyStar Credit Union 300. Jared Fryer. Jared, you've had a fabulous year by all accounts in late model stock car racing. So where does this run sit amongst all that you've accomplished in the 2025 season?
It's on up there. Obviously, the racer in me is not satisfied. I want to be on the front straightaway, but it was all in all a good night, good weekend really for me and my team to come here and run solid like that, have a good qualifying effort, and put a good race together with some of the best here in late model stocks, and obviously the GOAT, Lee. So it was fun. Obviously, like to be up there, but still happy with third. Just can't thank everybody behind me, AK Performance, Jimmy Moore, for giving me an opportunity, my family, my wife, GSX Rabs, John West Race Engines, RNS Race Cars. Everybody that puts a hand on this thing, gets us to the racetrack every week, and just lucky to do this. And want to thank all the fans for sticking around during the couple of rain delays. It's always cool to see that many people in the stands for this big race. So.
You look at especially the end of this and where your car was when we hit the checker. Did you just need track position, or was it handling the way you wanted? Where was this piece?
I was just off on balance a little bit. We were off on balance that first run, and we made a little change, and it kind of jumped to the other side there. And just got too tight in the center and really couldn't keep up on the restarts. I didn't think like I needed to fill the gaps and then get away, because it was so hard to pass as we ran laps. I felt like you'd put a good lap together but couldn't make any ground on the car in front of you. It felt like we were the same speed. So the racing wasn't as good as I expected, and the outside was good on restarts, but once we got running single file, it's like we couldn't go anywhere. I felt I couldn't gain on anybody. The only way you could pass is on restarts. So like I said, all in all, a good weekend for us, so I'm super, super happy.
Jared Fryer for AK Performance completes the podium in the 2025 ValleyStar Credit Union 300.
Thanks, Pike. And as we see, Connor Hall starting to assume his position on the front stretch for his celebratory moment as the Virginia Triple Crown champion in 2025. Blake, I want to take a thought that Lee Pulliam expressed in his very emotional interview, and I have to say, great job by all. He talked about the amount of talent displayed, not only by him, but a lot of people in this group. And I have to say, if you look at our podium, that is 3 tremendous race car drivers that were all in position for victory. And I think all 3 of them deserve their chance in a national spotlight at some point. Here's another driver well on his way to a national spotlight. He's a Virginia Triple Crown champion. Back down to victory lane to celebrate, Connor Hall.
Standing by right here with Connor Hall. First off, congratulations on getting your first ever Triple Crown championship. Behind me, we're going to do the first ever crowning, and you're going to be the first driver to ever partake in that here at Martinsville, as well as the new Virginia Triple Crown trophy. You're going to be taking home $20,000 in the bank. What does it mean to you, Connor, to add this to your resume?
I mean, it's obviously a really good thing. Just hard to be so happy and celebrate something when I felt like we were right there at the end of the race, and just I don't know if I burnt the right rear off of it or just over adjusted on my part or what, but as far as winning the Triple Crown, it's a really cool honor to put my name in that part of the record book. I think it's the first Triple Crown for Junior Motorsports as an organization, so we're going to take this and go back to the shop, celebrate a little bit about it, but my goal is to come back next year and win a grandfather clock.
I hear you. Well, we're going to send you back up to the stage here with Clay, who's going to do the presentation with Connor Hall.
We'll get you right in the center here. Connor, congratulations on the 2025 Virginia Triple Crown champion. Congratulations. On behalf of Bill Mullis, Langley Speedway, Brandon Brown, South Boston Speedway, and Martinsville Speedway here, way to go. $20,000. On behalf of FloRacing, thanks to Flo for doing this year. Awesome run for you. And we got a check here. I'll let you talk to Bill and Brandon, and then we'll put you in the throne and get your crown here. Money, crown, doesn't get any better than that. So congratulations.
Thank you.
Connor, congratulations on winning the Virginia Triple Crown. I know you've tried this a few times. I know you'd like to win the race, but at least you got the Triple Crown, and that's a big accomplishment. And looking forward to what's going to happen next in your racing future. And congratulations.
Yeah, again, Connor, you set the tone with your winning the Thunder Road Harley-Davidson 200 back-to-back, and then you came through with this huge accomplishment. Congratulations to you and all of Junior Motorsports. You all deserved it. Congratulations.
$20,000. And as we heard from Brandon Brown, that one of the big reasons why that came to fruition for Connor Hall, the victory in what was the kickoff race for the Virginia Triple Crown this year, the Thunder Road Harley-Davidson 200 at South Boston Speedway, one spot shy of the double up at the Hampton Heat. And here tonight, he talked about how the race unfolded for him, being just one spot shy of a top 10 effort here for what would have been his first top 10 in this race for Connor Hall. We talk about how challenging this place can be, and it's showcased for him tonight before he shifts his focus to the final 2 cars late model stock events of 2025. And now he gets to be crowned the Triple Crown King here at Martinsville Speedway. And there it is. I guess now it's official. That's got to feel good, Blake. $20,000 check, a crowning, a throne. I'll take it all.
There you go. $20,000 to him. And again, congratulations to Connor Hall. And how about a shout out again? We talk about the purse money that was made up in this event. Connor Hall takes home $20,000 in the richest Virginia late model Triple Crown that there has ever been. How about second going to Parker Eatman? Eked out a top 5 there late in the going. He ends up coming home in second. His Triple Crown also started off on the right foot at South Boston Speedway with a third-place effort. Carson Lofton in third, $7,500 richer. Doug Barnes Jr. fourth, and Cade Brown top 5 in this Triple Crown.
Unbelievable, and this is a motorsports event that just gets bigger and bigger each and every year. And as we look back on the end of this race, again, a thrilling photo finish between Landon Pembleton, who wins it for the second time. Lee Pulliam comes home in second spot. An unbelievable effort there. Jared Fryer third, Andrew Grady fourth, and as you said, on that last lap, Parker Eatman gets around the Truck Series champion Ty Majeski unofficially to finish in the 5th spot.
Yeah, and how about we mentioned there late in the going, Landon S. Huffman, a fantastic run for the PRG group. Cody Kelly hung around the top 5 all night long. I think Hartsville, South Carolina will have a good celebration with that run. Doug Barnes Jr., the other Lee Pulliam performance car, puts a pair of those team machines up into the top 10 after his crash at South Boston Speedway. Carson Lofton, who dominated early in this race, started on pole, ends up with a top 10 finish. And how about Connor Hall, the Virginia late model Triple Crown presented by FloRacing champion, and Ryan Matthews, can you believe it, with all the adversity that team had all night long, ends up with 12th.
The rest of the results will continue to roll across your screen here, and a couple of the notables there. Jay Crum, who had a pit on that last stop. Unfortunate for him there. We saw Brandon Pierce go for the last spin to draw the caution to set up the green-white checker. He comes home in 23rd. Hampton Heat winner, about one row ahead of him there in that 21st spot. As we see some of the drivers and teams who, we're not even on the second page of results here, and we're seeing cars and teams that suffered misfortune in exponential lengths, including Mike Looney and what he said maybe his last Martinsville stop in that 17th spot. We hope to see Mike back, but nevertheless, hats off to he and that team for keeping it rolling.
He didn't lie. He said he was going to pass some cars. He got about 6 or 7 there at the end with those 4-sticker tires. So Mike Looney, he held to his word.
The rest of the results will continue to roll on by as the celebratory efforts continue. Perhaps the most dramatic moment of the night involved Tristan McKee, who eventually had a motor expire. He finishes 27th. The car he tangled with earlier, Sam Yarbrough, 33rd, one of the favorites, and Landon Huffman involved in the early stack-up in Turn 2, 35th. And the last page of results for our 40-car field will represent some of the drivers who were taken out very early in the going, including before even the green flag that took out Daniel Silvestri, Blake Stallings, and more in what was a chaotic but well worth the wait finish for the ValleyStar Credit Union 300. Blake, second time you and I have had a chance to cover this race, and I got to tell you, I don't know how we could add any more prestige or importance to the event because it was on full display all night from start to finish.
Well, and it was on full display from the Thunder Road Harley-Davidson 200 to start this Triple Crown. Hats off to NASCAR Regional, to FloRacing, for all the partners that made this entire Triple Crown possible. It was made to be the biggest in the history of this event, and no doubt about it, it lived up to those expectations all throughout each of these 3 races. Thrilling races. Connor Hall won, Matt Waltz won, and now we ended here with Landon Pembleton collecting his second grandfather clock. It was a thrilling ride, and can't wait for next year.
Already looking forward to 2026 for sure. 14 cautions, 2 red flags for rain, just less than 2 hours total. And I think it was well worth the wait for all who stuck it out here at the track and those watching along from home. On behalf of our entire hard-working, dedicated production team, our incredible pit crew team down there, James Pike, Jacqueline Drake, Blake McCandless, I'm Eric Brennan. So long from Martinsville. Congratulations to Landon Pembleton and Connor Hall. We'll see you next time.